A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
And now, Backstage Wife, the story of Mary Noble and what it means to be the wife of a famous star. Larry Noble is waiting in his hotel room in Hollywood for a call from his friend Tom Bryson, the playwright, who urged Larry to come to the coast from New York to sign a picture contract. When Larry first received Tom Bryson's wire, he refused to consider the idea, but he later changed his mind. And now, as he finishes dressing, he looks into the mirror to adjust the knot of his tie, and he thinks,
"You've got to look your best, Larry, old boy. It's important you get this picture contract, you know. Suppose it fell through, and you had to go back to New York empty-handed. What would Mary think of you then? It's obvious that she doesn't think any too highly of you as it is. Or she wouldn't have bribed Tom Bryson to send me that wire, pretending it was his own idea. It's a cinch Mary doesn't want me in New York. I can't very well blame her, in view of the fact that she wouldn't be in the hospital if it weren't for me. She saved my life. She dug around till she got at the facts of Oliver Wilson's murder. She found out it was Claudia who was guilty all the time, just as she'd said from the start. But even so, Claudia Vincent got the last word by flinging acid in Mary's face. It's no wonder Mary wants me as far away as possible. And I can't tell anyone I know this. I can't even tell Tom. I've got to pretend I think it's a great idea. And I've got to make as good a deal as I can to pay off all our debts. Oh, if only I could put in a call to Mary at the hospital in New York. Tell her I want to come back. Never let her out of my sight again. What's the use of going on like that? I saw Tom's wire to her, and it was clear enough when he said he'd lined up some work for me, as she'd urged him to do. It's obvious Mary wants me out of the way. She wants the separation to be quick and painless. Maybe it is painless for her, but it's far from it for me. I thought we could make a go of it again. And if she's badly scarred, I thought I could make it up to her in some measure. Oh, hang it all, what's the use of going round and round over the same empty wishes? Oh, that's got to be Tom. Nobody else knows I'm here. All right, take it easy, I'm coming. Yes. Hello. Was that you, Tom? Oh, it's good to hear your voice, and it's good to be here. Sure thing. Great.
And meantime, in her hospital room back in New York, Mary Noble is finding it hard to bear the loneliness and the monotony of her convalescence. Suddenly, the door of her room opens, and her nurse appears, saying,
"Mrs. Noble, are you awake?"
Oh, yes, Miss Clark.
Oh, there's a visitor outside. I just wondered if you felt like seeing anyone.
Who is it?
Mr. Barlow. He said he's an old friend of yours.
Rupert Barlow. He's here?
Mm-hmm, right outside your door. I told him I'd have to see if you're sleeping before I could let him in, so if you'd rather not see him, it's quite all right.
I don't know what to say. It's not very nice to turn anyone away after they've come to see me.
If you don't mind my saying so, Mrs. Noble, I think it would be better for you if you did have a few visitors now. Just to stay a short time, of course. It does help to pass the time, and I know how important that is in a case like yours.
Yes, you're right, Miss Clark. I guess you may as well let Mr. Barlow come in. Although it's not going to be very pleasant for him to see me like this.
You mustn't think about that, Mrs. Noble. After all, the person who's a real friend doesn't care about such things. All right, Mr. Barlow, you can come in now.
Thank you. You're quite sure it's all right?
Mrs. Noble has asked to see you. I'll be right outside if you want me, and I'll be back within a few minutes anyway.
I understand. I won't stay too long.
Hello, Rupert. It's sweet of you to come here to see me.
Well, I've been longing to come here ever since I heard of that horrible misfortune.
Won't you sit down, Rupert? I think you'll find chairs somewhere about.
Now, don't you think about me. It's you we're concerned with. Have you any idea how much longer you must keep those wretched bandages on?
I don't know for sure, but I believe they're going to start taking some of them off soon.
Oh, I hope so. Must be ghastly for you to lie there so utterly helpless.
The worst of it is over, Rupert. And I'm fairly comfortable now.
When I think of the injustice of it all, that Claudia Vincent was able to hurl acid in your face before anyone could stop her, it makes my blood boil.
I expect it was my own fault, Rupert. I should have been more careful. Perhaps I shouldn't have gone to Lester Jordan's apartment with the police after all.
Of course you shouldn't. The idea of risking your priceless beauty for a worthless wretch like Claudia.
I wanted to be sure they didn't allow her to get away. After I found out that it was Claudia Vincent who killed Oliver Wilson, I wanted to make sure nothing happened to keep Larry from being acquitted. So you see, it was actually my own fault.
I think you've done the most wonderfully generous thing in the world, Mary, my dear. I only hope your husband fully appreciates the sacrifice you've made for him.
Of course he does, Rupert. It's been terrible for Larry. I can't tell you how my heart aches for him.
How like you to think of him. A man who is safe and quite out of all danger. And yet he must feel that his own stubborn belief in Claudia, or whatever you may call it, has brought you to this. Certainly Larry had enough warning about the woman.
It isn't fair to say that, Rupert. And I can't bear to have you criticize Larry.
Forgive me, my sweet. I shan't say any more.
I haven't thanked you for the beautiful flowers you sent me, Rupert.
Yes, I hope they made your room a little less gloomy. I realize that you couldn't look at them, but at least the fragrance might cheer you. Or so I hope.
They were wonderful. You sent so many that I was able to send a good many of them up to the wards, where they could be really appreciated. I felt sure you wouldn't mind.
No, of course not. If that's how you wish to dispose of them. I hope your decision was not prompted by outside suggestion.
What do you mean?
Let's not bother about it, my dear. I'm far too glad to have these few minutes at your side before I leave New York.
Oh? Are you going away?
Yes, I'm thinking about taking a cruise for a few weeks.
Wonderful. I envy you, Rupert.
How I'd love to take you along, my dear Mary. How it would please me to see you standing on the deck of my boat as you did once before. It's a picture I'll always remember.
I don't suppose I'll ever be quite like that again.
But you must, my dear. Surely they can do something for you with all the skill at the surgeon's command these days.
I don't know. Not for sure. But in any case, my doctor says I'm making a splendid recovery.
Yes, well, I hesitate to interfere, knowing that my motives are so often misconstrued. But are you quite sure, Mary, that you're having the most skilled doctors available?
I have the greatest confidence in Dr. Allen. And Larry has told him many times that he must feel free to call in anyone he thinks can help me.
I see. If it were possible, Mary, I'd visit you constantly and do whatever I could to cheer you, but of course that's the role I must relinquish to your husband. I'm sure he must be at your side constantly.
Larry has been with me as much as he could.
Well, I expect he'll be back in another minute or so. Perhaps I ought to leave. I doubt if my presence here will be favorably received.
Larry is in Hollywood right now, Rupert.
In Hollywood? My dear Mary, surely you don't mean that seriously.
Yes, I do. He left yesterday.
But that's unthinkable.
I wanted him to go.
Really? May I ask why?
I thought it would be so much easier for him.
Easier? I don't understand.
Well, Larry is terribly worried about so many things. About me and about all the bills he owes since his arrest months ago. I persuaded him to take a picture contract so that he could pay off some of his debts.
I'm utterly astonished to hear this, Mary. Words fail me.
You mean to say you didn't read about it in Marty Rupert's column in the paper this morning?
Why, of course not. This comes as a complete surprise to me. And I might add, Mary, as a shock. I cannot understand how anyone could be so careless of your feelings as to leave you at a time like this.
We're not in your position financially, Rupert. And we're very anxious to clear up all our debts and start our life over again.
Now, these debts that caused your husband such anguish could have, for the most part, been avoided, my dear. You know I did everything I could to underwrite your husband's defense at his trial.
Yes, I know that, Rupert, and I appreciate it. It was very generous of you.
And all entirely useless.
I think you understand the reasons for that, Rupert.
I think I do, Mary. But I wonder whether you do. It seems to me your husband is very thoughtless in demanding that you give up friends who are anxious to help you. And I can't understand how he was able to leave you at a time like this, when you need him more than ever.
If you say any more about Larry, I'll ask you to leave. I'm the one who wanted him to go to Hollywood. It was my idea. And I'm convinced that it was the best thing to do.
Oh, well, I didn't know. Of course, as long as you feel that way, I'll say no more. Except that I wouldn't blame you, my dear, if you never wish to see your husband again.
Mary Noble attempts to protest, but Rupert Barlow rises to leave with the definite impression that for the first time, Mary might be persuaded to forget her loyalty to her husband and listen to him. The only thing is, does Rupert want to pursue this course now? Be sure to be listening Monday to Backstage Wife, the story of Mary Noble and her husband Larry Noble, famous Broadway star.
The story you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned the homicide detail. A well-known businessman in your city disappears suddenly from his home. He's seen driving away from the house in the company of two unidentified men. There's no explanation for it. Your job? Find him.
How does Fatima compare with other king-size cigarettes?
Fatimas are the same length and circumference, 85 millimeters long, 1 1/64 inches around. And Fatima filters the smoke exactly the same long distance as any other king-size cigarette.
Tell me then, how is Fatima different from other king-size cigarettes?
In Fatima, the difference is quality.
Fatima gives you extra mildness, a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Remember, Fatima has all the advantages of extra length plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
So, insist on the best. Smoke king-size Fatima, best of all long cigarettes. Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, October 10th. It was mild in Los Angeles. We were working the night watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Captain Lorman. My name's Friday. I was on the way back from the record bureau, and it was 10:38 p.m. when I got to room 42. Homicide. Hey, Ben? Romero?
Back here, Joe. Captain's office.
Oh, yeah. Captain?
Joe, sit down.
Thank you. I got your call. What's it all about?
You're closer to it than I am, Skipper. You want to brief him?
Well, it's a man by the name of Tony Richmond. He disappeared from his house tonight, Joe. Looks like it might be foul play.
Tony Richmond. Name sounds a little familiar, doesn't it?
Runs a couple of garages around town. Promotes sports events on the side once in a while.
Sure. What's the story on him?
Well, here's the way we got it from Richmond's wife. He was at home tonight. The whole family was sitting in a back room looking at television. Richmond, his wife, 2 children, and his father-in-law.
Yeah.
About 9 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Richmond went to answer it. He hasn't been seen since.
Yeah?
That's right. Mrs. Richmond said she thought she heard a little loud talking at the front door and didn't pay any attention to it. When her husband didn't come back, she went to have a look. Front door was wide open. Her husband was gone.
No explanation for it at all, huh?
One of the Richmond's neighbors was sitting by her front window at the time, a Mrs. Sanford. She said she saw Mr. Richmond come down the front steps about that time, one man on either side of him.
Mm-hmm.
She got the idea Richmond didn't want to go with him.
Was there any description on the 2 men?
It's incomplete. The neighbor said she wasn't sure, but it looked to her like the 2 men pushed Richmond in a dark-colored sedan and drove off.
Not much description on the car either, Joe.
Well, where's that leave us?
Well, we're not positive there's anything wrong yet. There's a possibility it's nothing more than a misunderstanding.
How do you figure?
We got a couple of men out at the Richmond's house now. The wife told them that Mr. Richmond had a business appointment at 10 o'clock tonight. She didn't know where or with whom. Could have been with those 2 men.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't sound quite right, though, does it? I mean, walking out without even telling his wife.
No. Something else to consider. The wife said that when Richmond went to answer the front door, he was in his shirt sleeves.
Yeah.
When the neighbor saw him come down the stairs with the 2 men, she said he had his coat on. If those 2 guys were going to grab him off, they wouldn't wait for him to get his coat.
Yeah. How's it stand now?
Got out a broadcast on a description of the two men in the car. Not an awful lot to go on, no license number.
Anybody in particular who might have had it in for Richmond? Is there anything like that?
No, not that we know of so far. He dressed pretty well, obviously had money, wore quite a bit of jewelry.
Well, what have you got lined up for us, Skipper?
Well, I've got Barrett and Tommy Bryan standing by at the Richmond's house now, still checking around with Richmond's friends, some of his business associates. Nothing so far. Excuse me.
Sure.
Homicide, Lorman. Yeah, Tom. How's that? When? Yeah, right away. You know what to do. Keep in touch. Right. Well, that takes it out of the guessing stage. That was Brian out at the Richmond house. Mrs. Richmond just got a phone call a few minutes ago.
Yeah?
Man's voice. He told her they were holding her husband.
Well, what's her pitch?
If she wants him back alive, it'll cost $20,000.
As in all cases involving abduction to extort ransom, the investigating police officer is faced immediately with a dozen problems. But first and foremost is the safe return of the victim. When that's accomplished and the danger of death or bodily harm to the victim is removed, the officers then have the freedom to openly hunt down the abductors. But until the time the victim is safely returned, apprehending the criminal suspects remains a secondary consideration. 10:45 p.m. Together with Captain Lorman, Ben and I left the office and drove out to the Richmond's home out in North Hollywood, the scene of the abduction. We parked our car several blocks away and entered the house from a back street. It was a large, sprawling ranch-style home, richly landscaped. We went inside and checked with the two men from homicide on duty, Barrett and Bryan. They told us that there'd been no more phone calls, anonymous or otherwise. They also told us that so far the victim's wife, Adele Richmond, had been hostile and uncooperative. The abductors had warned her on the telephone about calling in the police. Now she was all for paying the $20,000 ransom and handling the case without the police. While Ben, Tommy Bryan, and Barrett rechecked the neighborhood for other possible witnesses to the abduction, Captain Lorman and I went inside and met the victim's wife and the victim's father-in-law, Fred Wellman. The wife was an attractive brunette in her early 30s.
Can't you understand? I just don't want the policemen here. They can be watching the house right now. They'll kill Tony if they know you're here.
Now, honey, there's no use getting upset like this. It isn't going to do any good.
Your father's right, ma'am. I know it's hard on you, but getting all worked up isn't going to help much.
Well, I wish I'd never called you in the first place. I can handle this. I'll pay them the money. I'll pay them anything as long as they bring my husband back safe.
Yes, ma'am, that's possible. What makes you think you can trust those men? How do you know you'll get your husband back after you pay the $20,000?
That's what they told me. When I talked to them on the phone, that's what they promised me.
Well, they've promised other people, too, ma'am. You give them $20,000, they'll want $40,000. Give them just one opening, they're going to run it into the ground. They'll take everything they can get, and you still won't have your husband back.
Well, there's no other way. I have to take the chance. I have to.
There is another way, Miss Richmond. That's why we're here.
What if it gets in the papers, publicity? Those men are bound to hear about it.
There won't be a line in the newspapers, I promise you that. As far as we're concerned, the only men who'll know about it will be the officers working the case.
We'll do everything we can, ma'am, but we're going to have your cooperation.
I don't know. If anything happens to Tony, I've got to sit down. I can't even think. I'm so worried.
That's it, honey. Here, you sit here. I'll get you some coffee. Good hot cup of coffee.
Would you see how the children are, Dad? See if they're covered.
Yeah, sure, honey. You just rest. You care for some coffee, officers?
No, sir.
No, thank you.
All right.
Now, about that phone call that you got, Miss Richmond.
They told me $20,000. If they get it, they'll let Tony go.
What else did they tell you?
That's all. They had Tony, and that if I wanted to see him again alive, we'd have to pay $20,000.
Well, what about the arrangements for delivering the money? Did you discuss that at all?
No, all he said was get $20,000 in small bills. He said that, too. He said he'd contact me later about delivering the money. Officer, I can't get that much money together tonight.
I don't think you'll have to, ma'am. I'm pretty sure the abductors know that, too.
Now, how about the voice on the phone, Miss Richmond? Is there any chance that you might have recognized it?
No, I haven't any idea who it was.
Well, did he give you any hint at all as to about how much time that you'd be allowed to get the money together?
Well, he said he'd call later on. I got the idea he meant later on tonight. He told me he'd have more instructions for me then.
I'd like to ask you once more, Mrs. Richmond, can you think of anyone who might try something like this on your husband? Maybe somebody who needed money, who carried a grudge against Mr. Richmond?
No one at all. Tony always got along very well in business. He works hard. He works awfully hard. I'm sorry, officer. I can't help thinking the whole thing would be better all around if I just pay the money and make them let my husband go.
No, that's just the point, ma'am. Like we said, how do you know they're going to let him go? If they can make $20,000 overnight, it's a good bet they're not going to let him go that easy. You can't make those kind of deals with them, now believe us.
Tony, what can I do, if anything?
I brought your coffee, Del. Good hot coffee. I looked in on the children. They were covered. And now you try some of this coffee now.
Thank you, Dad. Well, what are we going to do, officers? We can't just sit here and wait.
There's a few things I'd like to brief you on to start with.
Yes?
There'll be a couple of our men stationed here at all times. Another thing, do you have more than one telephone in the house?
Yes, sir, we do. There's one here in the den, one in the kitchen. Then we have a plug-in extension for the living room.
Fine. The next time the phone rings, you answer it, Mrs. Richmond. One of us will be listening in on the extension.
The one in the kitchen, that'd be closest.
All right. Now, if it's one of your husband's abductors calling, you tell them it's going to take you time to raise the money. Tell them at least 2 days.
Well, suppose they insist. But they say they want it sooner. They could kill my husband tonight.
Well, they could, ma'am, but I don't think they will. It's a pretty good bet that they planned on some waiting. Most people don't keep $20,000 around the house, and they know as well as you do that the banks don't open until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Something else, Mrs. Richmond. Make it clear to them that you won't have any direct hand in the transaction, paying the ransom. Tell them you're too sick, you're too upset, and that your brother will take care of everything.
You mean one of your officers?
Yes, ma'am. Sergeant Friday here can take care of that, eh?
Will they believe me? Don't you think they'll get suspicious?
Well, maybe, but you have to remember, ma'am, suspicious or not, their only interest is in getting the money and then getting away. Our first problem is to get your husband home safe. When we've got that done, we can worry about the abductors.
I see. All right, officer, I'll do all I can to help.
Fine, Mrs. Richmond. I think you'll find it's the best way. Joe, you and Romero will be on duty here for the night.
Right.
You'll monitor all the incoming calls. We'll try and get a tracer on him if you can keep the guy talking on the line long enough.
Uh-huh.
I'll make arrangements for another phone line in here and the use of the neighbor's phone next door.
Okay, fine. Do you know if the people next door are home now, sir?
Yes, sir, I think they are. Name's Thompson. Almost positive they're home.
Okay, fine.
All right, Mrs. Richmond, you want to take that? Don't pick it up till I tell you. Joe, over here at this extension.
Right.
Both of you pick up your receivers at the same time. You ready, Joe?
Right.
Mrs. Richmond? Now.
Hello?
Is this Mrs. Richmond?
Yes, this is she.
This call's about your husband, Mrs. Richmond. Here's your instructions about the money. If you want your husband back alive, follow him.
I want to tell you something. I can't handle this alone.
Don't try stalling, lady. Just listen. Here are the instructions. I'm only going to say them once. Get 20,000 in small bills by tomorrow. 5s, 10s, and 20s. Bring the cops in on this and we'll kill your husband tonight. Now remember it. We'll get the rest of the instructions tomorrow.
Please listen. Can my brother help? Hello?
Fast one. Wouldn't even give her a chance to talk.
What did you say, Sergeant? What was it?
Well, let's go back in there. Huh?
Yeah.
Did you hear him, officer? He wouldn't let me talk. Just like the last time, I couldn't even tell him.
Yes, ma'am, we heard. Now, why don't you sit down right here?
Said not to call the police. Said they'd kill him tonight. They'd kill Tony.
Grab her, I got her.
Poor Dell.
All right, you want to clear the sofa off?
Yes, sir. Poor Dell is too much for her.
All right.
Here we go.
Yeah. Think you ought to call your family doctor, sir. Sedative might help her quite a bit. Get her a little rest anyway.
I already did, Sergeant. I could see this coming. I'll get a blanket.
Well, what do you think?
Only want 20,000 by tomorrow. 5s, 10s, 20s. Said more instructions coming. Threatened to kill Richmond if we moved in.
How'd he sound?
Like he meant it. 12:35 a.m. Captain Lorman and I remained by the phone. The family doctor arrived, gave Mrs. Richmond a sedative, and she lay down for a rest in her room. Barrett, Tom, Bryan, and Ben came back to the house just before 1 a.m. They had a few more details on the description of the car used by the abductors, which they'd gotten from residents in the neighborhood. The information was relayed to communications, and a supplementary broadcast and an APB were gotten out. Ben and I stood watch at the house for the rest of the night, but there were no more calls. In the early morning, stakeouts were set up at the victim's place of business and also at the banks where he maintained his accounts and safety deposit boxes. That night, Ben and I still were at the Richmond place, standing by at the phone. There had been no contact from the abductors during the day. We waited. Midnight. 3 a.m. 6 a.m. No word. Another day passed. And then another. Still no contact. No trace of Mr. Richmond or his abductors. Saturday, October 13th, hope for the victim began to fade. Ben and I stayed on at the Richmond house.
Say, could I get you officers something to eat, maybe? A nice piece of cold beef in the icebox. Could make you a sandwich.
No, thank you.
Just the same.
How's Mrs. Richmond tonight, sir? She feeling any better?
My daughter, no. No better. She took a couple of pills the doctor gave her, trying to get a few winks of sleep, poor girl.
Well, there's no use you sitting up with us, sir, if you'd like to get a little sleep yourself.
No, I'd just soon sit up. Couldn't sleep anyway. Hey, I don't suppose either of you would care for a little nip.
No, thanks. No, thanks.
Guess you wouldn't mind if I had one myself. Seems lately that's the only thing that relaxes me.
Go right ahead.
When you get to be my age, a little bit helps now and then. Oh, there's some new magazines on the table there. Might help to pass the time for you.
Thank you, sir.
3 days now. Not even a word about Tony. What do you really think, officers?
Well, it's pretty hard to tell, Mr. Wellman. We're doing everything possible to find your son-in-law. There's not much to go on so far.
Funny thing about Tony. Young fella, ambitious. Look what happens.
Yes, sir.
Wouldn't mind if I turn on the radio here, would you? I'll keep it low.
No, sir. Go right ahead.
Sir.
Yeah, it's a funny thing about Tony. The day he married my daughter, I knew he was going to make it. Bright fella, Tony. Sure been good to me.
That's so?
Sure thing. Took me in right after the wife died. I was out of work at the time. Been with him ever since. Attend to garden, kind of clean up things. Tony's always been real good to me. No in-law trouble, nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
And look what happens. Young fella starts with almost nothing. Builds a good business, family, nice home. Just look what happens.
Well, there's no need to give up yet, sir. There's a good chance he's still all right.
I don't know. I guess I just got a feeling about it.
How do you mean?
About Tony. He's a fine young man. Things like this, they always happen to the fine young man. You take me, for instance. I wouldn't make money the way Tony does. Build a big business the way he has. Guess that's why I'd never be in the trouble he's in.
I don't think I follow you.
Guess I never wanted it, Sergeant. Couldn't get interested in making money. You break your back like Tony does. You work, you get a big bank account.
Yeah.
Get the home, the big car, and the swimming pool. You work for it like Tony did. You work hard. You get your big checkbook and everything you want. Just look what happens. Poor Tony works night and day for the money. Right now, he's no better off than the guy who's only worth a dime. They don't hold beggars for ransom, do they?
Excuse me, sir. I wonder if you have an extra book of matches around. I believe I'm out.
Oh, sure thing, Sergeant. I got some in the kitchen. Sure you wouldn't care for a little nip?
No, sir, no thanks.
Think I might. A little bit helps now and then.
Ben?
Yeah. Wonder what he means by every now and then.
You want to grab the extension out in the kitchen?
Right.
Wait till I say, huh?
Uh-huh.
Now. Hello?
Is this Sunset 18046?
Yeah, that's right.
Was Mrs. Richmond there?
No, not right now. This is her brother talking. Is there any message?
I want to talk to Mrs. Richmond.
Well, she's not here. You got a message for her?
Would you say this is?
Well, this is her brother talking. If you'd like to leave a message for Mrs. Richmond, I'll see.
This isn't her brother talking. I know his voice. Who is this?
Well, maybe you can tell me who you are.
This is Tony Richmond. Where's my wife?
Richmond, where are you?
Who is this?
Where are you?
I got away from way out in the valley, a dairy range near Sepulveda. Are you a cop?
Where can we find you?
About a mile from Telegraph Avenue in Sepulveda. A road in the middle of a dairy farm. If you're cops, you drive out with the red light on and honk the horn.
How soon can we meet you?
A half hour. You get out of your car and stand right in front of the headlights. I'll be watching you. I want to get a good look at you.
All right, half an hour.
Something else. I got hold of a gun.
Yeah?
And if you're not cops, I'll know what to do.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic cases from official police files. Now, let's look at our Fatima files.
Listed under H. Hardwick. Cedric Hardwick, distinguished actor. He says,
I find Fatima a very pleasing cigarette. It has a distinctly better flavor.
Listed under M. Morley. Maggie Morley, television actress. She says,
I like a long cigarette, and I like it extra mild. That's why it's Fatima for me.
friends, our files show Fatima's sales are going up. Up every day.
The reason for Fatima's ever-increasing popularity can be summed up in 2 words. Fatima quality.
Fatima gives you extra mildness, a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
If you smoke a king-size cigarette, remember this.
Fatima has all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has. In Fatima, the difference is quality.
So insist on the best. Insist on king-size Fatima.
Next time, buy Fatima in the distinctive golden yellow package.
One 1:30 a.m. After we got the call from the man who identified himself as the victim of the abduction, Tony Richmond, we put in a call for Captain Lorman. We told him about the phone call from the victim, his request for us to pick him up, and also about the conditions he stipulated that we follow. The captain ordered 3 cruiser cars and a car to pick up Ben and me and take us to the location specified in the phone conversation. 2 a.m. With the red light turned on, we pulled up at the approximate location indicated. It was a lonely spot on a lonely road, a little more than a mile off the nearest highway. We waited. We didn't know what to expect. It could be that the phone call, supposedly from Tony Richmond, had actually been made by one of the abductors. Could be that it was nothing more than a diversionary action intended to distract our attention while the abductors carried out their plans to obtain the ransom money from the victim's wife and make good their escape. We kept waiting. Ben sounded the horn at frequent intervals. Captain Lorman and myself stood up in front of the car in the glare of the headlights. 10 minutes went by. 15 minutes. Finally, a half a dozen yards down the road, we spotted a man climbing up the side of the drainage ditch and onto the road. He walked slowly toward us into the glare of the headlights. In his right hand, he held a gun.
You can put the gun down, mister.
You're the police. Show me.
Here's our car. Here's our identification.
Here you are. His badge, ID card.
Oh, thank God. Thank God, thank God.
The first thing we did was to notify the victim's wife and family that he'd been found and that he was unharmed. Then we called the office and told them what had happened. We offered to drive Richmond to his home immediately, but he told us that he was all right and insisted that he show us where the abductors had held him captive. We got in the car and started driving north along a dirt road that led off Sepulveda. On the way, Richmond briefed us on what had happened. He said that he'd been taken at gunpoint at the front door of his home 4 nights before, forced into a car by 2 men that he'd failed to recognize, and then driven to an abandoned shack in a deserted area in the San Fernando Valley. The 2 men had tied him hand and foot, partially stripped him, gagged him, and placed him under a floor of the shack and left him there. One of the men returned each day to give him something to eat. That night, Richmond told us that his captor failed to retie his hands securely. When the man left, Richmond succeeded in freeing himself from the ropes, made his way to a phone, and called his house. Outside of shock and exposure, he seemed to be all right. After pointing out the shack he'd been held captive in, and after we'd checked through it, Richmond was taken home in one of the cruiser cars. Ben and I remained on stakeout at the shack.
Pretty dark. Can you see the shack all right from here?
Just about, yeah. Keep an eye peeled on the road, huh?
Yeah. No smoke?
No, thanks. We waited. Nothing happened. 3 a.m. 3:30. No sign of the suspects. 4:30. 5 a.m. 5:12 a.m. Ben spotted the headlights of a car at least a mile down the road. We watched them come toward us. When it got close enough, we saw it was a dark-colored late-model sedan. It fitted the description of the abductor's car perfectly. It swung off the dirt road and pulled to a stop near the shack. 1 man got out.
All right,
let's go. All right, Mr. Police Officers, hold it right there.
Down, Joe.
See him, Ben?
Yeah, I ducked behind his car.
All right, throw out your gun. I'll give it back.
You got some good cover, Joe.
Oh, let's go. Come on, move in. Easy.
All right. Here's my gun.
Out from behind the car. Hands behind your head.
Cover me, Joe. I'll shake him down.
Right. All right, hold it right there.
Okay, Joe. He's clean. All right, hands behind you.
Sure like to play it safe, don't you? Handcuffs.
They work pretty good, mister. Much better than rope.
We called the office. A relief team came out to replace us on stakeout, and we took the suspect downtown to the interrogation room. He was checked through R&I and identified as Gerald Adams, a one-time loser. Together with Barrett and Bryan, we questioned the suspect. For 3 hours, he refused to admit that he had any part in the abduction of Tony Richmond. We gave up for the time being, took him to the main jail where he was booked on suspicion of kidnapping. A little after 11 a.m., Gerald Adams' partner showed up out at the shack in the valley. He was taken into custody. Was brought downtown, confronted with the evidence against him, and he gave us a full statement admitting his guilt. Late that afternoon, we went back to the main jail, signed out Adams for investigation, and brought him back to the interrogation room.
Have a seat, Adams.
Yeah. Okay, what is it this time?
Same as before, Adams. What do you say? You going to tell us about it?
I told you my story this morning, mister. You got it all.
Thought maybe you'd like to know. We picked up your partner. He gave us a signed statement.
Here's a copy of it. Have a look. Down in black and white. Your partner says you were in it with him all the way.
What'd you say, Adam?
Doesn't mean anything to me. You probably forced it out of him.
Well, that's not what he says. He blames the whole thing on you. Says you set up the deal, you gave the orders, you made the phone calls for the ransom money. Says that's the way he's going to tell it in court.
He's going to need a lot of proof.
He gave it to us. He showed us your apartment, a couple of ransom notes you'd written, showed us the typewriter you wrote him on, showed us the clothes you wore the night you grabbed Mr. Richmond.
He's a liar.
Not according to our crime lab, he's not. They checked over the clothes, found particles of dirt and pollen in the trouser cuffs. They match up with samples we took from that field out by the shack.
Well, it ain't true. None of it's true. The guy's a liar.
Well, there's his statement, Adam. It's all there. If you got any corrections in the story, now's the time to make them.
Adams?
There's only one thing I want to know.
Yeah?
How did it happen? How'd you get a line on us?
Richmond got away from the shack. We staked out on it until you came along.
Doesn't figure. He couldn't have gotten away. I had it all worked out.
Your partner didn't.
I showed him just what to do, how to handle the thing. I showed him where to hide Richmond. Couldn't have goofed up. I showed him the whole routine.
Well, there's one thing you didn't show him.
Yeah?
How to tie a knot.
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
On December 18th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 87, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
And now here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. I'd like to speak for a few seconds to our good friends, the cigarette dealers all over the country. Our latest reports show national Fatima sales are still going up. Every day of the week, more and more smokers are enjoying king-size Fatima. Now, as a result, every so often we receive letters from listeners telling us that their dealer is out of Fatimas. So I'd like to suggest this. You can do yourself and your customers a big favor by making sure you always have enough Fatimas to meet the ever-increasing demand. Put them out on the counter and watch how your customers go for Fatima quality. Fatima. Best of all, long cigarettes. Thank you.
Gerald Adams and his accomplice in the abduction of Tony Richmond were tried and convicted in Superior Court of kidnapping. The state penal code stipulates that kidnapping for the purpose of extorting money is punishable either by death or by imprisonment in the state penitentiary from 25 years to life. Both Adams and his partner are now serving life terms in the state penitentiary, Folsom, California.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of the first contributions to the special $5 million Red Cross flood relief appeal was $2.07 in pennies and nickels from two 9-year-old playmates in Kansas City, Missouri. Stepping up to the reception desk in the Kansas City Red Cross chapter, the pair proudly offered their earnings gained from touring neighborhood streets, reciting, and singing nursery rhymes. The money the Red Cross provides for rebuilding a house or refurnishing it, or for helping a family find the means to help itself, will be given outright, not lent. These were the words of President Truman in asking the American public to contribute at least $5 million to the Red Cross to aid the disaster-stricken people of Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Illinois. Won't you help through your local Red Cross chapter?
You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Stay tuned for Counter Spy next over NBC.
My name's Regan. I work for Anthony J. Lyon, Detective Bureau. They call me the Lion's Eye.
Sunday at 8:30, and CBS brings you Jeff Regan, Investigator, starring Frank Graham as Regan, with Frank Nelson as Anthony J. Lyon. So stand by for mystery, suspense, and adventure in tonight's transcribed story titled, There's Nothing Like a Pork Chop When Supper Rolls Around.
It took a heap of threatening notes to make Buddy Huckle afraid, and we had plenty of threatening notes in this one. Individual words cut from poems and pasted on plain white paper to create a message of death. If you enjoy poetry, you hate Huckle. And everyone connected with this case enjoyed poetry. Maybe it has something to do with a dictaphone that wound up telling too much and a leggy blonde that told too little. It was 3 p.m. when I checked in with my boss, the Lion, at the Detective Bureau. Somehow he looked different.
Jeffrey, my boy.
Then I saw he was wearing a flowing black tie.
Listen to this, Jeffrey.
Where's your cape, Fatso?
Listen. Listen to the exhortation of the dawn. Look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all...
Poetry? You, Lion?
Well, just because you have no appreciation of the finer things in life, Jeffrey, doesn't mean that
Whose poetry?
Well, mine, of course.
You, the head of a detective agency, writing poetry?
A man who appreciates the beauty of the universe, the richness of living...
What's in it for you?
What do you mean by that snide remark?
What do you get out of writing this poetry?
I reap calm, peace, my boy.
How much money?
Now look here, Jeffrey.
How much?
$10,000 if I win.
Win what?
Well, our new client told me about the contest, my boy. There's a $10,000 prize for the poem, which in the opinion of the judges...
I thought. Okay, Lion, who's the new client?
Buddy Huckle, the poet, America's Bard Laureate.
What's Hucklebuck's trouble?
No, Buddy Huckle. It seems someone is trying to intimidate him, keep him from creating more poetry.
Where do I find this bard?
At his office.
Office?
Well, he has to work someplace. Now, you get right down to this address and do what you
can. Did he, pay you?
There was a check for $200. Buddy Huckle is solvent.
Well, for an artist, that's suspicious.
Do a good job, my boy, and the Lion Detective Agency might turn up in his memoirs.
If I expected to find Buddy Huckle writing poetry in a hidden nook, I was in for a surprise. His office was on the Miracle Mile, brand new building, all glass and angles and curves. I checked the address the Lion had given me just to make sure. This was it. I squeezed into the Lucite elevator with salesmen, briefcases, secretaries, and a temperature of 110. Up in his office, there was a small desk and a little man behind it, maybe 50, with a pink seamless face and short white hair like popcorn glued to a billiard ball.
May I help you, sir?
You're Buddy Huckle?
Just a moment while I staple these poems.
My name's Regan. I'm from the Lion Detective Bureau.
Oh, yes. Mr. Huckle told me you were coming. Won't you sit down? I purchased that chair from the estate of H.W. Longfellow.
Where is Mr. Huckle?
Just a moment while I...
use the stapler.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Mr. Huckle now. Yes, sir, Mr. Huckle?
Come in here, Laszlo.
Yes, sir, Mr. Huckle.
Running behind schedule today.
Coming, Mr. Huckle.
The little man grabbed the stack of stapled poems and made for the inner office, his arms and legs working like a crab's. When he disappeared into the inner office, I took a look around. Hung on the wall was a certificate of merit from the Amalgamated Advertising Agencies of America, made out to Buddy Huckle. It read, in gold leaf, Your poems move merchandise. There was a stack of magazines on Laszlo's desk. I reached for one and was about to open it when Laszlo reappeared from the inner office.
Dear. Such a busy day.
When can I see the poet?
Oh, soon. Oh, you've disturbed my stapler.
I must have done that when I picked up this magazine.
Yes, a wonderful magazine. Mr. Huckle contributes to it regularly.
Uh-huh. Folk stuff.
Yes. Mr. Huckle again. Yes, sir?
San Regan in Laszlo.
Yes, Mr. Huckle.
I may go right in.
Why, yes, but don't take too much of Mr. Huckle's time. He's a very busy man.
I found Buddy Huckle seated behind a bluish cast aluminum desk. Very utilitarian.
Utility, Mr. Regan. No frou-frou here.
Buddy Huckle had been handsome, but now he was a gross 40. His overlarge face hung in little white puffs, damp-looking.
Your tan, Mr. Regan. You don't get work done sitting in the sun.
Over Huckle's desk hung the motto, Drive.
Regan, I can give you 3 minutes.
You're paying for it.
Hey, Regan, I like you.
Thanks.
You're utilitarian. No frou-frou. No...
What's the matter, Huckle?
Little white box. Desk.
Huckle was dying. His lips gathered blue patches around the edges. His huge head rolled weakly. I opened his desk and found a small white box. Inside there were pills as big as bullets. I shot one into his gaping mouth and he swallowed. In moments, his body firmed and he seemed to have come out of it.
Heart attack, Regan. Nothing. Have them all the time. Drive myself too hard, but that's all right. I've got money.
It makes nice salad.
You've given me a poem.
You use a dictaphone?
Of course. Did you think I wrote poetry with a quill pen and olive ink? Poem. Title. Money Ain't Salad. Money ain't salad, neighbor. Won't help you when you're down. There's nothing like a pork chop when supper rolls around. So spend your wealth, but not your health. Live wisely. Take a tip, for money sure ain't salad. It sure won't cure the grip. Signed, Buddy Huckle.
America's Bard Laureate.
Exactly. $100 a line.
Who's giving you trouble, Huckle?
Don't know. Take a look at these.
Poison pen notes.
Nasty business.
Uh-huh. Paste-up letters. No one's handwriting appears, so you couldn't check a typewriter. Very smart.
All these words came from my published poem.
Individual words cut out of the poems, then pasted on a plain piece of white paper so they form a message.
Read that one.
One more poem with a chuckle, and death will take you, Huckle.
Oh, crude poetry. Rank imitation of my product.
And someone's threatening your life.
Trying to scare me into not competing in this year's Hotchkiss Award for time capsule poetry.
Time capsule poetry?
Yeah. The winning poem is placed in a time capsule and buried for posterity by Hotchkiss University. To win means nationwide publicity and, of course, a $10,000 prize.
Yeah, the Lion told me. You have any idea who might want to stop your...
You're creating? No. That's why I'm paying your agency.
Who publishes most of your stuff?
I have a contract channeling my efforts into Folk Stuff magazine.
Okay, Huckle. If you need me, call me at Folk Stuff magazine.
Wait, Regan.
Yeah?
Regan, I'm scared.
He was scared. But it didn't stop his reaching for the dictaphone when I left. I'd given him another idea for a poem when I said I was going to check Folk Stuff. The magazine was located out in the cute section of Westwood. The building was 3 stories high and constructed to look like Paul Bunyan. The elevator operator said,
"Howdy, neighbor,"
and took me to the editorial offices. I expected to see old Father William behind the editor-in-chief's desk. But what I found was young, blonde, formed by a strict diet and exercise, dressed by Vogue, and had a voice like a warm night.
Come in, Mr. Regan.
The secretary said I'd find the editor-in-chief in here.
Sit down, Mr. Regan. I'm the editor-in-chief.
Yeah.
My name's Julie. If you're a writer, Mr. Regan, I'll publish you.
Well, that's not what I had in mind.
Then perhaps we might do a manuscript together.
That's nice, but...
I'll just turn on the phonograph. I hope you like American folk music.
Love it.
Get so lonely working up here in Paul Bunyan.
We can be lonely anywhere.
People think me unapproachable. I surprise them.
Sure, lady. Now, about Buddy Huckle.
Oh, him.
Come to think of it, maybe I'd rather hear about you. How come?
All this?
Yeah.
Why, I'm in charge of a folksy magazine.
Something like that.
There's money in folks, Mr. Regan. I brought out this magazine when I learned how many folks there were in America.
Oh. Do the, folks know about you?
We don't have many folks out here in California. Mostly the sophisticated type, Mr. Regan. The kind that would take advantage of a girl if they were left alone with her.
Uh-huh.
But I see you want to get back to Buddy Huckle.
Yeah, I had that in mind.
What do you want to know?
Do you know anyone around here that would like to see Huckle stop producing poetry?
Practically all of us feel that way.
Or maybe kill him?
We're all of us capable of murder, aren't we, Mr. Regan?
Works that way.
But why do you ask about Buddy Huckle?
Well, he has a contract with your magazine. You publish all his poetry.
There must be some mistake, Mr. Regan. I don't publish a line of his.
I nodded once because of impact. Then I nodded again to say goodbye. I left still nodding to the elevator operator who said,
So long, neighbor.
You know anything about Buddy Huckle?
Just he's doing a big broadcast from an Oklahoma barbecue over Long Beach tonight, neighbor.
I headed for Long Beach to have a long talk with Buddy Huckle. It was beginning to look like a publicity setup. When I arrived, I found the broadcasting studio on the 5th floor of the Ocean Stone Hotel. Just outside the studio door stood a woman, middle-aged, her hand gripped in her handbag. That old look of murder on her face.
Let go of my arm.
What's in the handbag, lady?
If you think I'm going to say hairpins, you're nuts.
All right, let's take a look.
I got a gun.
I thought maybe...
Let me go!
Looking for someone?
Yeah. That louse Huckle.
You've been sending him love notes you've cut out of magazines?
Who are you?
Regan, private investigator.
Well, I'm not afraid of you.
That's nice.
I was Buddy Huckle's wife, Regan. Now he's cut off my alimony, and I'm going in there to shoot him dead.
A lot of people in there, lady. Witnesses.
Oh. You say you're right.
Thank you.
You talked me out of it.
Goodbye, lady.
Goodbye, mister. And thanks.
The broadcasting room was a regular hotel room that had been wired for sound. There was a character in a padded suit that kept eyeing a clock and rubbing his moist hands on his sleeves. This must have been the producer. Buddy Huckle was seated at a green-top table, his eyes on the papers in front of him. Wasn't quite 10, so I said hello.
Hello, Regan. I'm on the air in 2 minutes.
Oh, that's a lifetime, Huckle. If you had a dictaphone, you could make yourself $1,000 in 2 minutes.
Maybe 500.
You don't look scared.
That. You can forget our little talk this afternoon. While I was dictating this afternoon, the culprit walked in, Mr. Regan. I found out who it was threatening me, sending me the note.
Would you mind telling me who?
Oh, nothing to worry about, nothing at all. I don't know why I was so concerned. Just figure your time and make me a refund on my retainer.
A certified pleasure.
Huh?
Quiet, please. We're ready to cut you in now, Mr. Huckle.
I'm ready, George.
Okay, stand by. You're on the air in a second. Take my cue.
Well, howdy, folks. This is America's Board Laureate, Buddy Huckle, talking to you. And, folks, I got a swell little old poem for you folks that I hope you're plumb going to like a lot. I kind of like to call it Money Ain't Salad. It goes, they say money ain't salad, neighbor. Won't help you when you're down. There's nothing like a pork chop when supper rolls around.
I couldn't take it. I gently made my way around George, the radio producer, to the door and out. It took me a little time to make my way through the crowd down to the street, and I stood there on the sidewalk for a few moments wondering about Buddy Huckle. Maybe Huckle wasn't as safe as he thought. That was his business now. And suddenly, high overhead above the sounds in the street, there was a shattering of glass. Screams from the street as a figure came hurtling toward the pavement. I jumped. Just in time. The body hit the sidewalk. If you looked hard, you could recognize what was left as Buddy Huckle. The final poetic touch was a framed sign that hit right after the body. On the sign was the motto, Drive.
This is CBS, and you are listening to tonight's adventure with Jeff Regan, Investigator, entitled, There's Nothing Like a Pork Chop when supper rolls around.
A man's body was spread-eagled on a concrete sidewalk. He'd fallen, or been pushed, from the 5th floor of the Ocean Stone Hotel. The body had belonged to a poet named Buddy Huckle. Very popular guy. His discarded wife had been in the hotel gunning for him, and somebody had been sending Huckle notes threatening his life. Maybe his wife. Well, now he didn't have to worry about the race for popularity. He was dead. Since all concerned were L.A. people, Homicide finally put Sanducci on the case. When Sanducci finished in Long Beach, we drove back to L.A. in his squad car, the hearse following us.
Facts, Regan. Look at the facts.
Facts can lie, Sanducci. What's your theory?
You can't convict on theory. Speed it up, Max. We'll never make L.A.
Okay, what are your facts, Sanducci?
Look, fact 1.
Let me try. Buddy Huckle is dead.
Smart boy.
Fact 2, he fell to his death from 5 stories up.
Right.
His former wife was spotted at the scene of the crime.
And she was gunning for her former husband, Buddy Huckle. You said so yourself, Regan.
Oh. What about George, the radio producer?
He was still in the studio. Didn't see anything. Step on it, Max.
There were no witnesses.
There were 3. They say they saw a woman running away from the scene of the crime.
Oh, you know how witnesses become confused, Sanducci. They may all be wrong.
Said woman became lost in the crowd during the confusion.
Yeah, and you now have an all-points call-out on Buddy Huckle's former wife.
The woman is dangerous, Regan. She's armed.
Well, didn't the witnesses say they saw anything else?
How much you want a witness to see, Regan? Be satisfied.
You know the trouble with facts, Sanducci? You gotta stop when you've got all that'll fit. Where do you place that motto that came down on top of the body?
Give it time. It'll fit.
Yeah, well, it so happens it came from the wall of Buddy Huckle's office.
Look, did you ever hear of planted clues, Regan? The dame is trying to outsmart us. She planted a sign, tried to throw us off.
All right, have it your way, Sanducci. Hurry up, Max. We gotta get back to L.A. fast. Hey, why is he slowing down?
Regulations. Max doesn't take orders from anybody but me. All right, step on it, Max.
We arrived in town. The time of night you think you see figures waiting with knives in every puddle of dark. 3 a.m. First I had to check with the line. I made it to his apartment. There was a wafer of light coming from under his door. I walked in. Lion was sound asleep on the couch. A pencil hanging from his mouth, sheets of scribbled paper on the floor. Come on, Lion, get up.
Hello, public library. Send me... Oh, it's you, Jeffrey.
Expecting a love bandit?
I must have forgotten to lock the door.
One world and a lock on every door.
Oh, as a matter of fact, I was working on my entry for the Hotchkiss Award for Time Bomb Poetry.
Capsule.
Oh, yes. I have another stanza, Jeffrey. Listen. The glory of action, the splendor...
Lion, our client is dead.
Dead? Oh, but that's horrible, my boy. When?
No
How?
time for that. Look, I gotta have your help to find Buddy Huckle's former wife.
Yeah, but I'd planned on spending the rest of the night working on my poem.
Her first name is Mona. That's all we've got. You've got to find her while I check on a dictaphone and a blonde editor.
Oh, a description, Jeffrey.
About 5'10", medium build, brown hair. Last seen in Long Beach wearing a yellow cotton dress, no hat. You're racing the police on this one, Lion. And when you get her, hang on, but be careful. She's wanted for murder. For what I needed, there was only one place to go now. The inner office of the late Buddy Huckle. Dark inside the office. Very. The door to the inner office was locked. None of my keys would work, so I used my shoulder. The door gave, and I was in the inner office. I snapped the lights on. When a man's just dead and you're in his room, you keep looking around for him. And I was alone, and I saw what I wanted, the dictaphone. I played the wax roll that was on the machine.
Signed, the Bard Laureate, Buddy Huckle.
I heard a lot of stuff. Poems, mostly, delivered in his rapid-fire manner. Then I heard myself.
You used a dictaphone? Of course. You think I wrote poetry with a quill pen and mauve ink? Poem. Title. Money ain't...
I lifted the playback head. For luck, I tried the end of the dictaphone record. This was really good.
The sign comes, the silent thrust of death by the tempered blade. Sharp, sweet sharpness. I refuse to read any more of this tribe.
Yeah, that didn't sound like Buddy's rhyming cry pie type of poetry. I played the very end of the record to get the signature, signed Buddy Huckle. But instead I got...
You've made me read this, but I won't sign this lousy poem.
That was the end of the record. Suddenly, without looking up, I knew there was someone standing behind me.
You're Regan.
Mona!
I saw you earlier, now I see you again.
What are you doing here?
I ain't so dumb I don't know the cops are after me.
Well, they probably know you're here right now.
I snuck in.
Now, you're not going to reach into that purse for your gun again.
I hocked it in an all-night joint.
Well, look, why don't we just sit down quietly and talk, Mona?
Yeah, well, I ain't so dumb I don't know what you're trying to do, mister.
What am I trying to do, Mona?
Well, I just came here to see if maybe Huckle made out an alimony check for me and maybe didn't mail it.
That's what I'm trying to do?
I need all the money I can get now that the cops are hot after me for something I didn't do.
You're sure you didn't push Buddy Huckle through that window, Mona?
I ain't got the strength.
Guess not.
I need dough to run away from the cops, Mr. Regan. Maybe you could take my case, huh? I got $6 for the gun.
Well, maybe I can help you, Mona. Look, hole up in the Rondo Hotel. Give a fictitious name. The police will liable to check this office.
Gee, you've been real good to me, Mr. Regan. You took my case, and here's my $6.
No thanks. We'll take it up with the Lion later.
The Lion?
Never mind. But find that hotel. I've got to find an editor-in-chief. The phone book gave me Julie's home address. Julie being the editorial brains behind Folk Stuff magazine. It was almost dawn now, but when I rang the doorbell of her swank apartment, I got an immediate response.
Come in, Mr. Regan.
I went in.
You know the police have already come and gone.
Yeah, they get around.
You're expecting to find something they didn't?
Thought maybe.
Drink, Mr. Regan.
Well, it has been a long night.
Say when.
Now.
Rugged individualist. Decided to do that manuscript with me?
Not what I had in mind, lady.
Maybe you'll tell me what you did have in mind.
You were closer to Buddy Huckle than most people know.
Just so, sir.
Huckle had a reputation as a poet. He set you up as editor of Folk Stuff magazine. But you were pretty rich, even for his blood.
You know, you're wrong, Mr. Regan.
I am?
But it makes a good story. More?
Why don't you try? Maybe it'll make more sense.
The magazine Folk Stuff does belong to me, Mr. Regan. No strings. Although Huckle did like to spend money on women, I wasn't one of them.
Sounds good. Go on.
Buddy Huckle had a reputation that helped sell my magazine. There was only one thing. He couldn't write poetry.
Oh. So when you told me that Huckle didn't write a line that went into Folk Stuff, you weren't lying. Huh?
Even I couldn't stand his poetry. I made little changes here and there in every line. It gave me a sense of accomplishment. He didn't seem to mind.
Well, lady, I guess that's all here.
Oh, Mr. Regan.
Lonely Julie grabbed my lapels, held me tight, and kissed me. But I managed to break away. After a while. I had to leave in the line of duty. And the man I had to see was the one that had last seen Buddy Huckle alive. George, the radio producer. I reached him at his home.
Mr. Regan.
You produced Buddy Huckle's broadcast at the Ocean Stone Hotel last night.
Lousy show, no fire.
Yeah, but you were the last man to see Buddy Huckle alive.
No, there must have been somebody else.
You followed Huckle out into the hallway after the... Lied to the police. You must have seen something. What?
I stayed in the studio.
Oh, George, open up.
I don't want to get mixed up in it. Let me alone. Now. All right. I got a police record back in Shy, Regan. You won't...
No deals. But make it the truth.
Okay. It was just I didn't want to get mixed up in no killing.
What'd you see?
I followed the star out of the studio like I always do to tell him it was a great show.
Yeah?
Only when I opened the door, I saw this little guy pop out of the crowd and plant his two hands against the star.
Buddy Huckle?
Yeah, and push him through the window.
Thanks, George. That's all I need.
I tried to step back before I saw it happen. I got a record, Regan.
Sure. Try not to worry, George. Everything may turn out all right. The little man, George, had seen push Huckle out of the window, could be Laszlo, Huckle's secretary. I checked all morning trying to find Laszlo, but he'd disappeared from the face of the earth. Then I got to thinking what kind of a guy Laszlo appeared to be. A thinker. Now, where would a thinker type go to hide if he was afraid of something? Someplace familiar to give him a sense of security, yet off the beaten path. It hit me. Sure. The public library. And that's where I found him. 2 flights below street level in the last reference room. Laszlo. His round popcorn white head was bent over a book. Hanging above his head was the public library sign, Silence.
It's you again.
Come with me, Laszlo.
No, you shan't take me alive.
Stop poking your pocket at me, Laszlo.
It's a dueling pistol. It belonged to Edgar Allan Poe, and it'll fire again in righteous cause.
Yeah, sure. Now listen, Laszlo. I know you finally blew your top about Huckle's poetry. You sent him those pasted notes threatening his life to keep him from writing any more.
He dictated his poetry.
It's all over, Laszlo.
No. You can't prove anything.
You were seen pushing Huckle to his death.
Oh. But I just couldn't stand it any longer. Today, after you left, I held this dueling pistol to his head and made him dictate one of my poems for spite. And then I resigned.
Go on.
He put money ahead of art. With his reputation, he was going to win the Hotchkiss Prize without their even looking at his work, while my poetry would go begging. You realize that I am one of only 4 men in the world who really understands Gertrude Stein?
Go on, Laszlo.
I didn't want to hurt him. Just frighten him into ceasing to write poetry.
You followed him to the broadcast last night.
Yes, it was the last resort. I was going to interrupt the broadcast. Tell the world he was an imposter, not a poet.
Yeah, but you have the motto from his wall with you.
Yes, positive proof of his inartistic approach. His motto was drive. But I couldn't go through with it. I was leaving when...
You saw Huckle leave the scene of his latest triumph, the broadcasting studio. This was too much. You killed him.
I was blind with rage.
In pushing Huckle, you dropped the motto out of the window, huh?
Well, I don't know. I don't remember. It all happened so fast.
Let's forget the dueling pistol, Laszlo. Just come along quietly.
No, you shan't take me alive.
Hand that gun over, Laszlo.
No, stand back!
The dueling pistol went off in his hand. The bullet cracked the ceiling. I grabbed the gun away from Laszlo. He didn't put up much of a fight. And then I led him from the library as quietly as possible. Sanducci, down at Homicide, felt as sorry for Laszlo as I did. But now Laszlo should have plenty of time to write poetry and not worry about selling it. State will take care of him. George, the radio producer, got a dressing down for withholding information, and I called Mona to tell her she was no longer under suspicion. And that wrote the end. It was high noon when I checked in with my boss, the Lion, at the bureau. He was reciting.
Oh, yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision.
You still can enter the poetry contest, Fatso?
Of course, my boy. The 10,000's as good as mine. I've just completed my work of art.
Okay. How does it go?
Oh, it's classic, Jeffrey. Yeah. Reminiscent of ancient Sanskrit poetry. In translation, of course.
Well, I've had a hard night, but I'd like to hear it.
Well, you've heard most of it. I'll just give you the ending.
Go on.
And tomorrow is only a vision. But today, well lived, makes every yesterday a dream of happiness.
Oh, that's real fine.
Oh, yes. And every tomorrow a vision of hope. Why are you walking around?
Oh, just looking, Lion.
Now, you just sit still while I finish. Look well, therefore, to this day. Such is the salutation to the dawn.
Uh-huh. What's this in your wastebasket?
Nothing, Jeffrey.
A library.
Give me that.
Oh, no.
The cleaning woman must have dropped it there.
What title of the book? Great Poems by Unknown Poets.
Yeah. Well, since nobody claims them, Jeffrey, it would be a shame to see them go to waste.
Investigator is written by William Frug and Gilbert Thomas, produced and transcribed by Sterling Tracy, and stars Frank Graham as Regan with Frank Nelson as Anthony J. Lyon. Original music is by Dick Arant. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Ladies and gentlemen, the documented story you will hear during the next 30 minutes is not a subject commonly discussed. It is a criminal problem that is not yet nationwide, but it's a problem which is growing rapidly. We present it now so that you may recognize it for what it is if and when it invades your city. The story you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to bunco detail. You begin to receive reports of a vicious new racket growing in your city, a television repair racket. The repairmen lie, overcharge, bill you for work not done, for parts not needed, for parts they don't install. Your job? Stop them.
How does Fatima compare with other king-size cigarettes?
Fatimas are the same length and circumference, 85 millimeters long, 1 1/64 inches around. And Fatima filters the smoke exactly the same long distance as any other king-size cigarette.
Tell me then, how is Fatima different from other king-size cigarettes?
In Fatima, the difference is quality.
Fatima gives you extra mildness, a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Remember, Fatima has all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
So insist on the best. Smoke king-size Fatima. Best of all king-size cigarettes. Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Monday, January 19th. It was overcast in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of bunco detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Captain McCauley. My name's Friday. It was 9:15 a.m. when we got to the third floor of the Los Angeles Daily News, the assistant city editor's office.
Hi, Friday. Come on in. Sit down.
Morning, Jack. I'd like you to meet my partner, Ben Romero. Ben, this is Jack Kinnett, staff writer for the Daily News.
All right, Kinnett. Glad to know you, Ben. Sit down, fellas.
Thanks. We just left the skipper over at the city hall.
Did the captain brief you on this thing?
Yeah, he gave us a partial fill-in. We've been working on it from our end about 2 weeks now.
Well, Paul Price, he's our radio TV editor. Paul and I had a long session with Captain McCauley yesterday, and I guess now we're all ready to move on this thing, huh?
We'll do everything we can. Would you like to fill Ben in on what you told me yesterday on the phone?
Yeah. Well, Price was the one who began getting the first complaints here at the paper. A tremendous number of his readers wrote in complaints about being victimized by crooked television repairmen.
About being charged too much for repair?
Partly, yeah. Some of the people even sent in receipts with their letters. Said they felt the guys who fixed their sets were dreaming up unnecessary repairs, charging them for work not done. Some of them said they knew they were billed for parts not even replaced or installed in their sets.
Ben, Jack told me yesterday about a letter he got from some man who said he felt he'd been overcharged and he just started to bellyache about it.
Yeah, a fellow by the name of Vincent. Said he just put up an old-fashioned squawk about it, and the repairman brought the price down at least 1/3.
That doesn't sound very good, does it?
We kind of figured operators like that must have too many repair sets on hand that their customers can't afford to bail out. That's why they cut.
Sounds like a clear case of a two-bit jip, doesn't it?
Well, something's got to be done about it.
We're ready to give it big play in our paper, expose the fraud for what it really is. Captain McCauley says Chief Parker's okayed our plan, and we can count on full police cooperation.
That's the way we got it, Jack. We were told to work with you people till we broke this thing.
Fine. We dug up a little ammunition to start with, I think. Went around and interviewed about 15 different television repairmen in various neighborhoods, and about 3 out of 5 gave me the same pitch.
Well, did they know you were with the newspaper?
No, I told them I was a factory representative for a new kind of rosin core solder company, and I was taking orders.
Yeah.
Naturally, I dropped in the different stores, shot the breeze with them, and they didn't seem to get wise. A couple of them even placed orders for the solder.
Well, what'd you find out?
Well, I just wanted to try and get the general attitude of some of these jip artists, and I really got an earful. One of the last places I hit was a tiny little hole in the wall out near Canoga Park. As I say, about 2 out of 5 are honest, hard-working repairmen, and this fellow was one of them.
Well, what are you getting at, Jack?
For a while, this fellow worked for a guy that employed about 5 men in his shop.
Yeah.
Finally quit him because he didn't like the way this big operator did business. Fellow's in the next office. I want you to hear it from him just as I got it. Excuse me.
Yeah, okay.
Hank, will you come in, please?
Sure, Mr. Matt.
This is Hank Coulter, Sergeant Friday, Sergeant Ben Romero, Police Department.
Hi.
Hank, I wonder if you'd tell these officers a little of what you told me about Kilgore TV Specialist.
All right.
Now, suppose I'm a customer and I come into Kilgore's. I don't like the size of my repair bill. What were you instructed to say?
Well, we generally tried to talk them out of any complaint.
Suppose I complained about all the multiple charges. I wanted an explanation of the work you did. What then?
We just tell you that it wouldn't do any good to explain. You wouldn't understand all the technical stuff anyway.
Mm-hmm. Tell us Kilgore's attitude with the customer.
You mean about the loose wire stuff?
Yeah, please.
Well, Kilgore used to tell us that if we only charged 50 cents for fixing the loose wire, the customer wouldn't believe we really fixed his set, so we used to charge quite a lot more.
Well, how much more, for example?
For a nickel's worth of wire, we'd usually charge $4.75.
Pretty fair profit.
Yeah, it's a real rob.
What else can you tell us, eh?
Well, we'd never let a customer watch any of the TV repair job.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if a customer calls and says he thinks the tube's blown out and it'll only be a simple replacement job in his home, and we'd tell him the parts are getting hard to get, and we'd have to take his set into the shop and charge him a higher rate because we had to pay black market prices for the tube.
Was there any truth in that? I mean, about the tubes being hard to get?
Not much. Some of them are getting a little hard to get, but we never paid any black market prices at Kilgore's. We just slugged the customer, that's all.
Tell them about how you used to swap parts on a new set, Hank.
Well, we'd lots of times pirate a new tube for one not so good. One not so good we'd put in a set with a bad tube.
Yeah.
Then the bad tube we'd exchange at the factory under a 1-year guarantee.
Yeah, they don't miss an angle, do they?
Well, that's it. We've heard it from a man who couldn't stomach such practice and quit, went into business, a little bit of a shop. Isn't doing too well, are you, Hank?
No, but I think I can build up the business. I don't make quite as much profit as Kilgore's, but I don't chisel my customers either.
Thanks a lot, Hank. I wonder if you'd wait in the next office for me?
Sure. Hope I've helped a little bit to crack down on some of these guys.
Well, we think you have, Hank. Thanks a lot.
Nice to meet you.
Right. See you later.
See you later.
Seems like a nice fellow.
He is. I've checked on him, and I've talked with some of his customers since I met him. He's honest.
Well, it's a pretty vicious racket, isn't it?
Yeah. It ought to be stopped now. Television's a wonderful medium of entertainment. A lot of the country doesn't have it yet, but when the cable goes through and it finally opens up, the people should know about the swindlers and crooks who try to gyp them.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the same way when radio first came in. Always seems like when anything new comes along, anything a little complicated, maybe a little too involved for the average guy, a few smart punks victimize him. Rob the consumer blind.
Well, naturally, we got to have some positive evidence before we can file a complaint with the city attorney on this thing.
Yeah, you fellas, any ideas where to start?
Well, the best way to crack down on these crooked operators is to catch them red-handed with evidence that'll hold up in court.
Yeah.
We think maybe we've got an idea.
Well, we were talking to Dick Saunders over in our sound lab, and he says that he can bungle a new TV set, and we can mark it and photograph it before it goes out to be repaired.
And when it's returned or after it's fixed, we'll have what we need to go to court on, huh?
Yeah, that's it.
We can operate right out of one of our own homes.
And all we have to do is hope the repairman overcharges us or tries to gyp us.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's hope it works.
Well, from what we've heard, it's got to. 10 a.m. The staff writer, Jack Webb, Ben, and I drove back downtown. On the way, it was decided that we'd use Canette's home as the place from which to operate. It was centrally located and in an average neighborhood. When we got back to our office, we contacted one of the local television dealers and asked for the loan of one of their sets. They recommended K. Halbert because the chassis is easily accessible and any trouble could be located quickly because parts are visible. A 16-inch K. Halbert console model was sent to our sound lab. 10:18 a.m., we met with Dick Saunders, our police lab technician.
Here's the set. 16-inch console model, serial number C2817901.
What have you done to it, Dick?
Well, first off, I tested the set and it performed perfectly. It's a good set. Brings in a fine picture, see? Yeah, test pattern's fine, huh?
Yeah, it's good.
Tested all the tubes, all okay.
How are you marking the set?
Yeah, I'll show you. Get a tube out of here. Now, if you look closely here at the base of the socket, see it?
What's that?
This is it, isn't it, Dick? Little tiny dot of green paint?
Yeah, that's right, Ben.
Mm-hmm.
I'm marking every part of the set with this tiny green dot.
Looks good. If I didn't spot it, I doubt anyone else would, especially if they didn't know about it.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping.
In addition to this type marking, we've taken all serial numbers off the tubes and various parts. Anything that carried any form of coding, we took down.
Mm-hmm.
All major components have been marked. Transformers, coils, condensers, tuning units, so on.
Did you get any pictures of it?
Yeah, we did. Took photographs of the set in and out of the cabinet. Took them from 4 different angles just to be sure we were well covered.
Well, how did you bungle it?
Well, here's what I did. To put the set out of commission, I burned out the filament of the 5U4G low-voltage rectifier tube.
What's the cost of that particular tube, Saunders?
Well, this tube ordinarily retails for $1.65.
Mm-hmm. Well, what does that do to the set? I mean, burning out the tube.
By burning out that filament, we cause the sound and picture circuits to be completely inoperative.
It won't work at all until that particular tube is replaced by a good one.
Mm-hmm. That's right, Joe.
Well, how big a job would it be to trace the trouble?
Well, it could easily be detected by casual observation or by noting that the tube, normally very hot, is cold.
How much time would you say it would require to make a repair like this?
Oh, I'd estimate not over a half hour would be required to place this set in operating order.
Half hour.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dick. You going to take care of getting the set out to Canette's home right away?
Yeah, we have his address right here. We'll get it right out.
All right, fine.
If you can, try to get whoever repairs this set to give you an itemized bill of all work done and parts installed.
Right.
In case you call more than one outfit today, here's an extra bad 5U4G tube.
Thank you, Dick.
Anything you'd like to know?
No, I think that about covers it for me. Jack?
One more thing. I was just wondering, if somebody spots the trouble right away and replaces the tube, what do you think they ought to charge, Dick? Labor and all.
I checked through RTA on that this morning. They said to make a house call and replace the defective tube should not exceed $4.50.
Okay, thanks.
That does it for now, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, you're all set then. Think we'll get what you're after?
Well, we should. The odds are all on our side. 10:30 a.m., Monday, January 19th. We left the sound lab on West 1st Street and walked back to Bunko Division. We met with Captain McCauley and filled him in. We gave him the newspaper man, Jack Canette's address, and told him he could reach us there. The console model television set was delivered to Canette's home and properly installed. When we arrived at his home, we started going through the yellow classified section of the phone directory. We made a list of several TV service stores just picked at random. We chose a wide variety. We picked stores that were listed with large boxed-in ads, stores that carried no ads, just a listing. Ben called 2 places and staggered the calls so that the repairman would arrive about 1 hour apart. It was 11:30 a.m. when the first man made his service call, Bart's TV experts on Hollywood Boulevard. It took him 45 minutes. It was 12:15 when he left Jack Canette's home.
Must have been one of the 2 out of 5, huh?
Yeah, he seems okay.
I wonder if I could see that bill, huh?
Oh, here you go, Joe.
Thanks. Yeah, it looks okay. Replace 5U4G tube, $1.65. Service charge, $2.50. Total charges, $4.15.
That kind of bears out Canette's thinking, doesn't it? Remember when we asked him how many men worked in his shop and he said he's alone?
Yeah.
I think you'll find that's a pretty good barometer. All the servicemen working alone aren't like this guy, but the bigger percentage of the honest ones are.
When's the next one due to arrive, Ben?
Any minute now. Called a place by the name of Cheney's Video Repairs. They're over on Beverly Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
Had a big ad. Looks like a pretty big outfit.
Oh, here's that other defective tube that Dick gave us.
Yeah, better get it in the set.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here we are. 5U4G.
Okay, here you go.
Thanks, Joe. Here's a new one the guy put in.
I got it.
Okay. Let's get this back on again.
Okay?
Yeah, fine. Better turn it on to make sure it's not working.
I got it.
How about the tube, Ben? Can you see? Is it lighting up?
No, not yet. I'll push the set back against the wall.
We better leave it on for a while, Jack, just to make sure, huh?
Yeah.
There we are. I gave you the other tube?
Yeah, I got it right here in my pocket.
Right.
I'd like to try something if you fellas think it'll be okay.
What's that, Jack?
I got a good little camera, like a 3F, candid.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe if I turn all the 3-way lamps up to full, there's a AAA fast film that's in the camera now, maybe we can grab some shots of the guy while he works. What do you think?
Well, if you're careful, don't let him get wise. Maybe you ought to shoot some of all of us just so he doesn't think anything about it. Huh?
Yeah, that's what I figured out. Just sit down on that chair over there by the set, make him think I'm just testing or something.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can bring it off without arousing any suspicion.
Okay.
If I get anything, the guy's out of line, we'll run the shots in the Daily News.
What do you figure on doing, Jack? You going to run a series on the TV repair racket?
Yeah, that's the plan. Lee Payne, he's our executive editor. He thinks it's high time somebody exposed the swindle in the paper.
Mm-hmm. That'll be the next serviceman. I'll let him in.
Right. Better turn off the set, huh?
Yeah.
Television repair?
That's right.
I'm from Cheney's on Beverly Boulevard.
Oh, yeah. Now, come on in.
Thanks. Oh, what seems to be the trouble?
We don't know. The set's right over here.
Oh, thanks. K. Halbert, huh? 16-inch, nice set. Oh, what seems to be wrong?
Darn if I know, son. Nothing seems to work.
Well, how do you mean?
No picture at all.
How about sound?
Mm-mm. Nothing.
Uh-huh. Be all right to pull the set away from the wall?
Sure, go right ahead. Can we give you a hand?
Oh, no, it's all right. I can handle it. Well, I make some tools up. How long you had this set?
Oh, about 2-3 months.
Mm-hmm. Dark in here. I wonder if we could have a little more light?
Sure, let me get these lamps up for you.
Well, thanks.
How's that?
Oh, fine, thanks. Say, that's a nice little camera you got there. What kind is it?
A Leica 3F 1.5 lens.
Uh-huh.
Been experimenting with some new indoor film. You mind being a guinea pig?
No, it's all right with me. Shane to waste good film on me, though.
Think you're going to get anything in this light, Jack?
Maybe. Worth a try, anyway.
I don't know about this set.
What do you mean?
Well, it looks bad. Hard to tell without getting it down to the shop. Looks to me like your blocking transformer's gone.
What's that mean?
Well, I'll have to take the set in.
Can't fix it here, huh?
No, I'm afraid not. You see, parts are getting a little hard to get these days. The set manufacturers are having a tough time getting quality parts, and sometimes we have to spend several hours just tracing the trouble.
Well, I guess that knocks out the ball game tonight, huh, fellas?
Mm-hmm. Sorry. Take a couple of days at least. Want to really check it over.
Sure it's not a tube. We kind of thought just a tube blew out.
No, that's what most people think every time their set goes out. It's definitely not a tube. Oh, it might be some bad tubes, but your trouble's a great deal more than that, I think.
Have you got any idea what it's going to run us?
Well, it's hard to say right offhand.
$4 or $5?
No, it's going to run more than that. I'll take the set in with me now, and I'll get it back to you as soon as possible.
You going to take the whole set?
No, I'll just pull the chassis out of the cabinet, leave the cabinet here. Oh, say, by the way.
Yeah?
If everything turns out, I'd sure like to see those pictures.
Yeah, if everything turns out, you will.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic cases from official police files. Now, let's look at our Fatima files.
Listed under B, Bella. James Warner Bella, distinguished author. He says,
a man who smokes as much as I do wants a cigarette that's extra mild. And I like Fatima's different flavor and aroma.
Listed under S, Scanlon. Louise Scanlon, Stork Club cigarette girl. She says,
more and more of my Stork Club customers are smoking king-size Fatimas. They're elegant, distinctive, and really extra mild.
friends, our files show Fatima sales are going up. Up every day.
The reason for Fatima's ever-increasing popularity can be summed up in 2 words. Fatima quality.
Fatima gives you extra mildness, a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
If you smoke a king-size cigarette, remember this.
Fatima has all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has. In Fatima, the difference is quality.
So insist on the best. Insist on king-size Fatima.
Next time, buy Fatima in the distinctive gold and yellow package. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Thursday, January 22nd, 9:30 a.m. The TV set was returned to reporter Jack Knet's home after having been repaired by a servicing company called Cheney's Video Repairs. We found that the man who had come to Knet's home to make the service call was Robert B. Cheney, the owner of the service outfit. Well, as soon as the set was returned, we called the sound lab and had it picked up and taken downtown. Sergeant Marshall Zeno, who was working with us out of Bunko Detail, called and said that Dick Saunders had finished his investigation and wanted to see us right away. 10:30 a.m., we went down to West 1st Street, the police sound lab. Saunders went over his findings with us.
Here are the photographs before and after.
Mm-hmm.
Before we go over these, let me show you what we found out about your repair job.
Okay.
Over here. Mm-hmm. Here's that receipt Cheney gave you when he returned the set.
Yeah.
Here's what the repair bill states. Replaced vertical blocking transformer, replaced 5U4G tube, 6AU6 tube, and 12AU7 tube.
And the charge was $32.50.
Plus 98 cents tax, or a total of $33.48.
Well, how does that break down, Dick?
Well, it appears that the 98 cents tax was for $28 worth of material used in the repair.
Mm-hmm.
Did they really put in all that stuff?
You got yourself a prize package in that outfit. All they did was to replace the 5U4G tube.
That's all they did, huh?
Yeah. Here's the capper. The 5U4G is a war surplus tube, but it works okay.
What else did you find?
According to the photographs and coding system, no vertical blocking transformer, 6AU6 tube, or 12AU7 tube were replaced. Let's get back to the photos here. Here, you can take these along for your package.
Thanks, Dick.
You can see in the set here.
Yeah?
Let me show you. You see, this tube is the only part mentioned in the receipt or otherwise that doesn't carry our green paint coating system.
Yeah.
Let me turn the set around here.
All right.
Joe, try the channel selector here.
What, this?
Yeah, that's the tuning knob to bring in the stations. Channel selector, they call it. Turn it.
Okay.
Falls off pretty easy, doesn't it?
It sure does. Here, Dick.
Thanks. They left out the spring clip in here. It should have been put back in because that's what holds the knob secure to the shaft.
I've had that happen on radio sets.
Yeah, sometimes they're a little stubborn to put back in, but a good repairman would never leave it out.
Yeah.
Something else here. Turn the set around in the back again.
No, I'll get it, Dick.
Oh, thanks, Ben. Yeah, you see here? See how loose the chassis is in the cabinet now?
Yeah, it sure is.
Wasn't that way when we got it from the K. Halbert dealer, any more than the channel selector was faulty.
It was in perfect shape when we got it.
Look at the size of that chassis. It's pretty heavy.
Yeah, it is.
Originally, there were 4 screws used to hold the chassis in the wood cabinet. Cheney's repair outfit only put 1 back in. 1 screw to hold that heavy chassis.
It's a pretty sloppy job, all right.
You know what they'd probably tell you if you asked them about this?
That it only requires 1 screw.
Yeah, that's it. The bad repairman can always improve on factory standards, usually for his own convenience. Certainly doesn't improve the product.
No, looks like we got what we were after.
Think we got enough, Joe?
I do. Let's see what the city attorney thinks. We collected all the evidence in the case against Cheney's video repairs. We met with Captain McCauley and took it up to the 2nd floor of the city hall. We met with Assistant City Attorney Boyd Taylor and showed him our findings. He issued a warrant for the arrest of Robert W. Cheney, charging him with violation of Section 484 PC, 1 count. 11:30 a.m., Thursday, January 22nd. Ben and I drove out to make the arrest. Jack Canet went along with us.
This is it, Cheney's video repair.
Yeah, come on, Jack.
There's Cheney behind the counter.
Yeah.
Hello there.
Hi.
How's the set working?
All right.
We did a good job on that one. Gave you a better break on the price than I thought we could.
Yeah, police officers, you're under arrest.
Well, you're kidding. What for?
Petty theft. Come on, let's go.
Petty theft? Well, I don't understand. You're the fellows I fixed that set for up on Crescent Drive, aren't you?
That's right. Your bill was a little high, wasn't it?
Oh, now, wait a minute. If that's all that's bothering you, let's talk it over.
Come on, let's go.
Look, I can fix that up with you guys. Just tell me how much you want to pay and we'll work out something.
That seems to be the way you worked our repair deal right from the start, doesn't it? Only you didn't consult us about it till now.
Well, look, you know how it is in this business. If you don't charge some customers a little money, they don't think you did anything to their sets.
You ought to try charging them for just the work you do.
Can't we get together on this thing? Let's just forget the whole deal. You don't owe me anything. Now, here, I'll refund all your money. We'll call it square.
Never mind. Just leave the money in the cash register and get your coat.
Can't prove anything anyway.
We think we can. Just step around the counter this way.
Look, mister, you're not a cop, are you?
No, I'm not.
Well, then tell him, isn't that a fair deal? I'll give you back your money.
Afraid it's a little late for that, Cheney.
If all this gets in the papers, I'll be ruined here. Run out of business.
That's the way we got it figured.
How many men you have working here for you?
4. Why?
This, right here. You ever read this?
Well, what is it? Oh, the thing from the RTA.
Here. Read Article 2, would you?
2?
Yeah, that's right.
I will conduct myself and my business in an honest and straightforward manner, meriting and inspiring the confidence of my customers. Yeah, I know about this.
You're a member of the RTA, Radio Technicians Association, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Read Article 4, would you?
I propose to charge a just and fair price for all professional services rendered.
Now read this Article 7.
I will engage only in fair and ethical practices recommended and approved by the Radio Technicians Association as being conducive to public confidence. Yeah, I read all this before.
It's too bad you didn't remember it.
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
On April 15th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 82, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
And now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Friends, this week I'll be seeing you from page 8 of Life magazine, this week's Fatima ad. Right across the top it says, "In Fatima, the difference is quality." Well, in Fatima, the finest domestic and Turkish tobaccos give you extra mildness, a different, better flavor and aroma. Compare Fatima with any other king-size cigarette. Prove, as I have, what a difference Fatima quality makes. Next time, buy Fatima in the golden yellow package. Best of all, king-size cigarettes. Ladies and gentlemen, in the few remaining moments, we'd like to take this opportunity to thank you once again for your many kind letters of encouragement that come in from week to week. And also, we'd like to answer a few questions about our program which seem common to many of the letters that we receive from you. Many of you have inquired why, at the end of the program, in recounting the punishment of the criminal involved in the particular case, we generally refer to the sentence received as the term prescribed by law. Well, we use this reference for the following reason. In the state of California, the length of a convicted criminal's prison term is not set by the court, but by the state adult authority. Now, most of the time, a criminal is merely found guilty by the court and then sentenced to the state penitentiary. After he serves a year in prison, the convict has a hearing before this state adult authority, at which time his actual sentence is set. So you can see why we can't give you the actual sentence in many cases. Now, other questions common to many of your letters concern some of the authentic technical police terminology which comes up from time to time on Dragnet. With the help of George Fenneman, we'd like to explain some of the more common ones for you, if we may. First, you've heard us use the term or the letters APB.
APB. That's an all-points bulletin. A communication dispatched to all divisions and law enforcement agencies throughout the state.
And then we feel sure that you remember the term Mama Sheet.
A Mama Sheet is the master information form on a criminal in a police department file. It contains his complete description, his habits, relatives, acquaintances, everything about him known to the police.
Well, thank you, George, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your very fine letters. From time to time, if we may, we'll take this opportunity to explain a few more of our authentic police terminology. Thank you.
Robert W. Cheney, owner and operator of Cheney's Video Repairs, was tried and convicted on several counts of violating Section 484 PC, petty theft. He was fined $200 and received a sentence as prescribed by law. Petty theft is punishable by imprisonment in the county jail for not more than 6 months.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dragnet wishes to thank the Los Angeles Daily News and its feature writer, Jack Webb, for their valuable assistance in preparing this case for presentation. It is our combined belief and knowledge that not all television repair servicemen are dishonest and unscrupulous in their practices. A great percentage of these technicians are forthright and conduct their business in strict compliance with the Code of Ethics. It is these men who, when informed of the unfair conditions that exist in their trade, will drive the dishonest and crooked from their profession.
You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima, best of all, king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
It's the Silver Jubilee on NBC. For 25 years, NBC has been bringing you the very best in radio entertainment. Listen now to another exciting story on Counter Spy, coming up on NBC.
This
one's about Pete Kelly. It's about the world he goes around in. It's about the big music and the big troubles and the big 20s. So when they ask you, tell them this one's about the blues. Pete Kelly's Blues. Pete Kelly's Blues, starring Jack Webb, with story by Jim Moser and music by Dick Cathcart.
My name's Pete Kelly. I play cornet. You'll find us at 417 Cherry Street, Kansas City. It's a standard speakeasy. We got 35 cases of cut whiskey and a 7-piece band. We start every night at 10 and we play till 6 in the morning. It's not much, but the contract runs out in June 1924. After that, there's a place in South Chicago that may take us. In the meantime, we're working here on Cherry Street. The lease is made out to George Lupo. His brother gave it to him after the funeral. The kind of music we play started out as a backroom exercise in a little swamp stop called Myrtle Grove. La Rocca took his Dixieland band to Reisenweber's in New York. We got as far as Kansas City. It's no place to get off a train unless you're a sack of mail. Because around here, everybody works at the same job, staying alive. $50 buys a pair of socks, a spaghetti dinner, or a down payment on murder. Well, last night, everything turned sour about midnight. The town was down on its hands and knees trying to crawl through one of those Kansas City hot spells that blast by every third day. It was heat and headaches all the way. Our drummer, Nick, was dragging the beat, and I went bad 12 bars in on the Memphis Blues. Well, I figured we better cut the set short, so we started to fight our way through one chorus of Roses of Picardy. That's when the kid came in and stood by the bandstand. He was tall enough to see over a quart of milk with a face the size of a minute and just about as young. All right, let's get off for a while.
Who's your friend, Pete?
I don't know, but he must be tone deaf.
Mr. Kelly! Mr. Kelly!
Yeah, son.
I heard you play. You sound good.
We've been better. What's on your mind?
Father Cronin sent me to see you.
Are you doing a little missionary work?
Oh, no, sir, nothing like that. I'm an altar boy over there. Father calls me Little Jake.
We sure got you working the late shift.
I've been trying to get a hold of you all day. Father wants a favor.
We'll make it a small one. I'm all out of the big one.
He just wanted to know if you could come by St. Timothy's and see him. He said tomorrow morning right after the 9 o'clock.
Okay. Tell him he keeps terrible hours. I'll be there.
Thanks, Mr. Kelly.
Pete Kelly?
Yeah, that's right.
Tell the kid goodbye.
He knows his way out.
Should I go, Mr. Kelly?
Beat it, kid.
Yes, sir. Goodbye, Mr. Kelly.
Yeah, goodbye, Jake.
You got someplace private? We'd like to talk.
This is my office.
Now listen hard, Bright Eyes. There's enough gun in this coat to blow you right through the wall.
I'll take your word for it.
We coming in nice and you get funny mouth. Now you got someplace we can talk.
I can't leave. I got to do a number.
Do it. We'll be right here about 10 feet from your stomach.
Yeah. All right. Let's go.
You look sick, Pete. What's the matter?
I feel fine. Who's sorry now? Everybody ready? Let's go.
you proved it. Now, let's go.
Yeah. Keep them going, Red.
How many shall we do, Pete?
If this works out, about 10 minutes worth. Let's go.
The alley will do. We need a favor, Kelly.
Yeah, there's a run on them tonight.
Give me the envelope, Dix.
Yeah.
You got an inside coat pocket, Kelly?
Come on. Either throw or pass the dice.
Hold him, Dix. Pull him up, Dix.
Come on. Up. Yeah.
Now, this is how. Here's an envelope. It goes in your inside coat pocket, and it stays there until 6 o'clock tomorrow night. You don't open it, you don't mess with it.
What happens at 6 o'clock?
You'll be the first to know.
Well, I stood there in the alley and watched them walk away. Inside, Lupo was blowing up a storm. Something about paying for a 7-piece band and only having 6. Well, it wasn't worth trying to get back on the stand. I got a cab and went up to my room. I tried to get to sleep. It was no good. I got up. I was sick to my stomach. After that, I went to sleep. The next morning, I made a pass at some breakfast and tried to look through the sports page. Harry Heilman got 4 for 5 against the Red Sox, but that's all I read. That envelope had me. People have been taken out in alleys before, and they've been worked over. Usually they get something away from them, not to give it to them. No matter how I tried to put it together, it wouldn't come out. Thin or fat, it wouldn't slice. I had the envelope, and I had to wait till 6 o'clock. Well, I gave up on the coffee, and I started over to see Father Cronin. It was a little after 9:30 when I started up the steps of St. Timothy's. I figured Mass was almost over, so I hung around in the vestibule for a couple of minutes, trying to look like a part-time bell ringer.
Hi, Mr. Kelly.
Hello, Jake.
Father's back in the sacristy, Mr. Kelly. He said for me to show you the way.
They move it?
No, sir.
All right, Jake. Show me the way.
This way, Mr. Kelly. Down this aisle.
Well, I guess I was too busy trying to act like I knew my way around to pay much attention to a fat, chunky little guy wearing a brown Borsalino hat. He stood up in a back pew a couple of aisles over. The church was empty except for the 3 of us. Little Jake found out about it just before I did.
Mr. Kelly, that man back there.
All right, mister. I'll take that envelope.
Jake, get out.
Mr. Kelly, look out! Look out!
Well, in Kansas City, you learn early to look for trouble. Any place, any time. But this is the first time it caught up with me in the middle of a church. The last 3 shots were a waste of money. Jake went down like young wheat in a hailstorm. When I grabbed for him, I hit my head on the base of a marble pillar. I lost the edge right there. By the time I hit the street, he was gone. I guess I covered every alley and street in the neighborhood. But it was like trying to wash a pail of dirty water. I don't know how much later it was when I stopped for a minute in an empty doorway and tried to remember what I was chasing. Well, a siren was crying off somewhere in the distance, and I started back for the church. The coroner's wagon was just pulling away as I got there. I didn't see Father Cronin around, so I went back to the rectory and rang the bell. He came to the door in his shirt sleeves. He stood there for a minute just looking at me. And then he motioned me inside.
In here. Sit down.
The kid, Father, little Jake.
He's dead. You want a blow-by-blow?
Yeah, I know, Father. I was there.
Sure you were there. You're always there. I should have known better than to call you. I should have known it meant trouble.
Oh, wait a minute, Father. This wasn't my party.
I called you here today to ask you a favor, Pete.
Yeah, I know.
You don't know. It's too late now. We were going to have an altar boys picnic tomorrow at Washington Park. I wanted you to play a little music for us. We won't be going now, Pete. We got a funeral instead.
Yeah. What do you want me to say?
Don't say anything, Pete. If you've got any private fights, that's your business. But don't bring your beef into the church.
I never saw the guy before, Father.
Don't kid me. He didn't come in here to shoot little Jake.
Now, look, I know this is hard to understand.
You bet it's hard to understand. We've been over it before, but you ran with the same pack. You hung on to the same friends. You had it all figured out. Well, you figured this one, Pete. There's a 9-year-old boy on his way to the morgue. He took a gangster's bullet that you earned. Now you go ahead. Figure it.
I got this envelope.
I don't want an explanation. Take your excuses and peddle them where you need them. To the bootleggers and the gunmen. Take them to your crowd.
This envelope, Father, they shoved it in my pocket. I was out in the alley behind the club. 2 guys. They worked me over. I didn't think they'd try anything like this.
Neither did little Jake.
All right, Father, I told you I was sorry.
Go on home.
Why don't you stop cutting at me and say a prayer for that kid?
I would, but I'm too busy praying for people like you.
Well, you couldn't blame him. How do you explain away a dead kid lying in front of an altar rail? All I could offer was a 2-cent envelope in my coat pocket and a wild night in an alley. I started to walk back to my room. I tried to paste up some kind of an answer, but I got nothing. I was halfway home when the last breeze left town and went someplace to cool off. My clothes were soaking wet, and I decided to take a cab the rest of the way. I reached in my pocket, and all I had was 23 cents, so I kept walking. Sunday morning's the same in any town. Empty streets and everybody home trading the comic section and living off of Saturday night. You could live here all your life, and on Sunday morning you just got in town. It was about noon when I got to my hotel. I went up to the second floor and unlocked my door. They were sitting on the bed. Their coats were off, and they'd hung them on the back of a chair. The same two boys had given me the envelope last night.
Got a real hot room here, Kelly. You ought to move off this cord.
Yeah, next time I'll get twin beds.
Is everything all right with that envelope?
It made a murder, mister. You take it.
Put it back in your pocket.
Now get this, both of you. There's a lot of something wrong here. I've had my turn. You find yourself another fall guy. There's a lot of inside coat pockets in this town. Look for a new one.
We like yours, and that's where it's going to stay. Now, you don't listen good. Me and Dex put it out last night, and you didn't pick up on it. We got you on board, and we'll tell you when to get off.
6 o'clock, boy.
How long do you think this jag will last? Look, I'm cashing in. I've had enough.
What were you doing this morning, trying to pray your way out?
A priest wanted a favor.
I got it, Lon.
Yeah. Yeah, he's in. No, he's busy. From 2 to 5. Sure, come on up. Benny.
He went for it, huh?
On his way up. We're going to stay a while, Kelly.
Well, there's only 3 chairs. I'll make it easy for you.
Stay put, mister.
No, he's your friend. I'm checking out.
First time you've been right.
Well, it happened so fast I didn't even see his arm move. My knees buckled and I pitched forward. I don't know how long I laid there, but when I opened my eyes, the afternoon sun was almost gone. What was left of it was bleeding through a rip in the blind. Well, I could hear somebody breathing hard like a fat man on a hot day, and when I rolled over, I saw him. A tough prohibition agent by the name of Cage. The weather didn't make any difference to Cage. He always looked that way. His collar was wilted, and it looked like Arrow's first try. His necktie was pulled down, and the knot was twisted. The heat had worked him over so that the front of his shirt was splotchy and damp. Reminded you of a first-grader's map of the world. He was sitting in a chair with his arms draped over the back and his head resting on his hands. He was smoking a Milo Violet, but it didn't help that much. His mouth was wound around a toothy grin, and he looked like a mountain lion who'd just eaten her young.
You can get up now, Kelly. You made your point.
Yeah, sure. How long you been here?
Long enough to fill out your booking slip. You're going to jail, mister.
What for? Sleeping on the floor?
For the dead guy on the bed. Who is he?
I don't know. How'd he get there?
You put him there after you shot him. Now get your hat.
Look, Prohibition's your racket. Dead bodies are out of your line.
Not when I find him in your room. Now let's go downtown. We'll both tell homicide. We'll find the details later.
Gage, you couldn't find yourself in a mirror. I didn't have anything to do with this, and you know it. I've been out for the last 3 hours. This happened after they slugged me.
Save it for the jury. All I know is I got a phone tip to check room 205. I come up here and I find you and a dead guy. That's all I need. You can dress it up fancy and make it look cute, but it still comes out murder.
There's enough liquor in this town to float it away, and you're wasting your time with a killing. It's none of your business.
You're my business, big shot. Somebody put 2 pounds of lead in Benny's chest, and you're my pick.
Benny who?
Benny Davis. He worked for Mike Quinlan. You look pale.
Yeah, I'm just beginning to feel the squeeze. Mike Quinlan on one side and those 2 trigger men that you let walk out of here on the other.
You got it, and I'll be turning a handle.
Well, before you start worrying about your picture in the paper, you better turn up the 2 guys that were here with me.
That part of the same dream?
They gave me an envelope to hold for them. The price on it's going up by the minute. A 9-year-old kid died for it, and this guy here on the bed.
That's a good story. Do you write him down or just make him up?
Look, you got nothing on me, and I haven't got much time. I'm leaving you.
That's all right. I call downtown. The minute you hit the street, they'll pick you up.
In the meantime, you better come up with more than you got. They don't hang you in this state on a hunch.
I'm going to check this room over. I'll find all we need.
You couldn't find your head with both hands. Goodbye, Cage.
All right, you got till midnight, big shot, and then I'll be around.
Yeah.
I'll have it all set up. All we'll need is time to run the extra.
Well, I could have used a cold shower, but with Cage there, I didn't have the room to dry off. I went down the hall and headed down the back stairs. I figured even if Cage was right about calling downtown, I might have an edge if I moved fast enough. The sun was on the downgrade, but it didn't make any difference. It'd done a good job all day, and the heat was boiling up out of the ground. So if I was going to come out at all, I had to have some help. So I started to look for the only honest guy I know, an ex-bootlegger by the name of Barney Ricketts. The only bootlegger in the country that went broke in 1922. He drank himself out of business. I phoned 8 different places and tried 4. Nobody'd seen him. I was about ready to give up when I finally found him sitting in the middle of a bourbon fog in a little Spanish joint somewhere on the edge of the East Bottoms. He was sitting at a back table trying his best to make time with a plaster bust of Queen Isabella.
P.T., my boy, you're just in time. I'm not quite certain, but I think the young lady here has a friend.
I gotta talk to you, Barney.
If you're any good at all with Spanish, now is the time. I was positive she'd loosen up on this second bottle of wine, but no, she's utterly uncharitable, and I think she's a picture of a perfect boy.
Yeah, all right, Barney.
To a member of the old Castilian school, there can be no excuse for the conduct she's exhibiting.
Yeah.
Why, do you know I was even good enough to buy her 3 rounds of Portuguese brandy? Imported, mind you. But what do I get for my pains? Not even a civil thank you.
All right, listen to me, will you, Barney?
I've been sitting here in the most gentlemanly fashion, sipping this delicate nectar and trying vainly to keep the party going. But does she help? No! I've talked to her about politics, medicine, literature, Keats, Byron, Shelley, Faith Baldwin. I've even talked about the weather.
Barney, she's a statue.
Oh, a simple oversight, P.T. It could happen to anyone.
Now, look, I'm in trouble.
Of course you're in trouble. You'll always be in trouble because you're a child of adversity, a son of scorn. The fates spit in your eye and you try to retaliate, but the wind's always blowing in the wrong direction. You're a lost leaf in the mortal storm, Petey. You're a pebble shaking a tiny fist at the mountain. You'd like to fight for some strange, fantastic cause, wouldn't you? But you can't find anybody your size. Men are too small and the gods are too big. Petey, you're lost.
You all through now?
Yes. What kind of trouble?
A pair of bum murder raps. Somebody slugged me in my room, and I woke up with a dead guy.
Dubious honor. You mentioned 2 murders.
One of them was an altar boy over at St. Timothy's. The other guy worked for Mike Quinlan.
The same Quinlan that controls most of the Canadian import here in town?
Yeah, that's him.
Time's short. Let's finish the brandy.
2 guys started all this at the club last night. Names are Ludd and Dex. Mean anything to you?
This will all sound better with more brandy. You picked 2 of Quinlan's first string. Ludd Sandell and Dex Porter, both killers.
Look, they gave me an envelope to hang on to. Now, nose around. See if you can find out what it all means. The dead guy up in my room, his name's Benny Davis. See if you can find out where he fits in, will you?
It'd be a lot simpler if you just joined Quinlan's gang. Benny Davis holds a card in the same organization.
Well, how about Ludd and Dex? Any bad blood between them and
If
Davis?
there is, it doesn't show. They're closer than unborn peas.
You sure about that, Barney?
Police blotter can't be that wrong. Benny's sister will tell you the same thing.
Where do I find her?
Chelsea Apartments. Beautiful girl, Petey. When you're my age, she'll disturb your memories.
All right, now get going, will you? See how close you can get to Quinlan's headquarters. Find out what you can about Ludd and Dex and Benny Davis. Maybe Quinlan's got him on a special job or something. Find out what it is, will you?
You'll find me in a temporary economic slump, Petey. I'll need car fare.
Yeah, well, that makes 2 of us. I'm broke. You'll have to do it on foot.
Oh, well, I have friends here. My credit's unlimited.
Well, hurry up, will you, Barney?
One moment. Alfonso, would you loan me $1.50?
Come on, let's go.
He's only bluffing. He won't shoot.
Well, Barney headed down toward Bale Street from Mike Quinlan's place, and I started cross town for the North End and the Chelsea Apartments. I couldn't begin to work it out. If Dex and Ludd were such good friends with Benny Davis, why did they kill him? And if they didn't do it, who planted his body in my room and why? Well, I was running way late, and there wasn't much time to catch up. I finally found the Chelsea Apartments on the corner of Stocker and Bales, with an old 3-story wooden frame. I checked the mailbox, and Louise Davis was down for apartment 17. Well, inside, the hallway was dark, and a couple of gas jets were smoking up the ceiling. There was a potted palm by the foot of the stairs, and it looked like it was growing out of old gum wrappers and cigar butts. Apartment 17 was at the rear of the first floor. She answered the door, and you could tell right away Barney was right. She was pretty, and she had enough smile to last you for years.
Yes?
You Louise Davis?
That's right. I can do better for you. You're Pete Kelly. I've heard you play.
Yeah, well, so far you're batting 1,000. Can I come in?
Yeah, sure. You didn't bring your band, so it must be a social call.
I'll make this short. It's about Benny.
What about him?
That's what I want to know. He's got a couple of friends. I got to know about him.
Then he isn't that popular. You mean Ludd and Dex?
They'll do. They got trouble, and they're cutting me in.
What kind of trouble?
Well, I'm not sure. That's why I came to you.
I can't help you. They never tell me what they're doing.
Well, they gave me an envelope. They told me to hold it till 6 o'clock tonight.
You haven't got any problem. You'll know in an hour.
Yeah, well, maybe I'm tired. I want to know now. I'll take any lead you got.
They found out I told you this. They might not like it. They got some kind of a beef with Quinlan.
Does Mike know about it?
I wouldn't know. I just heard him talking one night. They're not happy with the money Quinlan gives them.
They got any plans?
I don't think we've got to talk about this. Let me get you a drink, huh?
Now, look, this is the last trip around for me, lady. I got to have everything you know.
You said something about an envelope, didn't you?
That's right.
You got it?
Right here.
If you open it, you'll understand everything.
Well, they gave it to me sealed. They want it back the same way.
If you want to be around to give it back, you'd better open it.
You got a guarantee handy?
All I know is the 3 of them are working on something big. I don't know what it is, but I heard some talk about an envelope. It's your choice. You asked for a lead and you got it.
Yeah, we'll hold hands when they cut me down. You got a letter opener?
Pete, look out!
Well, it all happened faster than a Mexican divorce. Louise Davis was dead before the echo left the room. Well, I got to the window, but whoever did the shooting was gone. I grabbed the envelope, and on my way out, I took another look at her. There wasn't anything left but the smile. I cut through a couple of back lots and down an alley. I stopped in the doorway and opened the envelope. Inside was a handful of typewritten sheets. Looked like a lot of headache for 5 pieces of paper. And then the bell rang. 2 of them were consignment slips for 8,000 gallons of high-grade Canadian whiskey. The other 3 slips were detailed breakdowns for a convoy of trucks. They showed special truck routes over the Canadian border into the States to miss the hijackers and the prohibition agents. They showed a day-by-day schedule for each truck on its trip down from the border. Well, it's not too tough to hijack a load of booze, but when you got it laid out right down to the time, the place, and how many bottles, it's like money in the bank. Well, I knew right then why the envelope meant so much to Ludd and Dex. What I couldn't understand was where they got it. Why they gave it to me to hang on to. Well, maybe they were working for Quinlan, but why didn't he have the papers, and why weren't they in his safe? Mike had a big one. Well, the questions were still piling up. There was an outside chance, but I couldn't stand still, so I crossed over to the Kansas side and headed down Boulder Road to Fat Annie's place. Maggie Jackson did 2 things good. She sang the blues better than the guy who wrote them, and she could pick up an idle rumor at 3 miles.
Hi, Pete.
Maggie, what do you know?
I knew you'd be here tonight. You always come in together. Trouble and Pete Kelly.
Yeah, I know. I never come around except when I need something.
As long as I have it to give, you got it. It's Mike Quinlan this time, ain't it?
Well, that's part of it. I'm in it up to my ears.
You got an envelope, I heard.
Yeah?
Mike Quinlan and some of his boys have been here about an hour ago. They tore the paper off the walls looking for you and Dex and Ludd.
Dex and Ludd?
Mike wants all 3 of you.
Yeah, anything else?
No. Bonnie Ricketts called for you.
Did he leave a number?
He's still waiting on the phone. I took the call. He said you'd end up here, so he just hung on.
Well, I'll get it right now.
Yeah, the boss is kind of mad. The phone's been tied up for 2 hours.
All right, thanks, Maggie.
Sure, and good luck, Pete.
Hello, Barney.
There you are, Petey.
That'll be $1.25 for another 3 minutes.
Yes, all right, operator. Alfonso, 5 more quarters, please. No, the quarters. Just a minute, Petey. Alfonso doesn't know the quarters from the house.
Yeah, well, hurry up.
That's right.
Thank you.
Now then, Pete. No, Alfonso, no more money for the moment.
What's going on, Barney? Where are you?
Fort Madison, Iowa. I'm troubleshooting for you, Pete.
Well, what'd you find out?
It's a double cross. Mike Quinlan's involved in one of the biggest deals of his career, and Benny Davis, along with Dex and Ludd, stole the consignment papers.
Yeah, I know. That's what's in the envelope.
You better get them back to Quinlan. I understand he's been tearing up the town for him.
Well, what do I do about Dex and Ludd?
Yes, you might easily end up like Benny Davis. Seems Ludd and Dex didn't want to split it 3 ways, so they killed him.
You sure about all this?
That's why I'm up here in Iowa. I suggest that you join us.
No, I'll see you when you get back.
It's been a gay, mad world, Petey. We drove 60 miles an hour all the way up here.
Yeah?
Alfonso's drunk. He thinks the phone's a slot machine. He's waiting for the payoff.
Well, as soon as I hung up the phone, everything fell into place. I had one big worry, to get back to the club and unload those papers before Quinlan caught up with me. Well, almost everything made sense now, except the killing of Louise Davis, Benny's sister. It was easy to see why they dropped Benny along the way, but why his sister? How did she tie in? Well, on the way back to town, I mulled over a couple of possibilities, and I figured maybe I came up with the answer. I started back for town, and it was rough all the way. I kept thinking any minute I'd bump into Mike Quinlan, and I couldn't be sure that I'd lost Dex and Ludd. It was almost dark by the time I got back to the club. The band was waiting around for the Sunday rehearsal. We ran through one number, and then things got cloudy.
Now, Kelly.
You're early, Dex.
Close enough.
No, not for me. You said 6 o'clock.
Your horn's no match for this gun. Give me the envelope.
6 o'clock, Dex. All right. Let's try Someday, Sweetheart. Hand me that plunger, will you, Red? I'll give you the pickup. you 10.
You gonna give me that envelope, or do I blow it out of your pocket?
The same way you handled Louise Davis?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I think you do. You killed her and you killed her brother.
You got it all figured out, haven't you,
The
kid?
horn player's right, Dex. Don't turn around.
You got it wrong, Lud.
I don't think so. I never should have let you kill Benny. That should have been the tip-off, and that kid in the church and Benny's sister. You had to make the big try.
It was for me and you, Lud.
It won't wash. You're going to die, Dex. Pick a spot to lay down.
Not in the back, Lud. You'd give me a better chance than that.
Would I?
Look out, Lud!
Like I said, Dex, pick a spot. Well, that wraps it up, Kelly.
You better sit down, Lud.
No, this'll do. It won't be a long wait. I don't mind standing.
Suit yourself. 6 o'clock, Lud. Here's your envelope.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hello, Pete.
Hi, Father.
Just going to stop by. I heard the gunshots. I knew you'd be around.
Well, let me tell you again, Father. I'm sorry about Jake. I don't know what else to say. I'm just sorry.
I believe you. We'll have the funeral for little Jake tomorrow. Maybe you want to stop by.
Yeah. Some things never figure. A 9-year-old kid shot down. No reason for it. None in the world. 9-year-old kid.
It's done, Pete. Don't waste your pity on little Jake. He's got a big lead on both of us.
I don't get you, Father.
You and I should die as good as a 9-year-old.
Kelly's Blues, starring Jack Webb, with story by Jim Moser and music by Dick Cathcart. Scoring by Matty Matlock.
The music of Pete Kelly's Big Seven consists of Dick Cathcart on cornet, Matty Matlock on clarinet, Nick Fatul on drums, Ray Sherman on piano, George Van Ness on guitar, Judd DeNott on bass, Mo Schneider on trombone. The songs of Maggie Jackson were written by Arthur Hamilton. Pete Kelly's Blues is a presentation of the United States Armed Forces Radio Service.
Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned the homicide detail. An elderly man is found dead in the living room of his home. There's a single bullet hole in his chest. On the surface, it appears the man took his own life, but the evidence points to the opposite. Your job? Investigate.
More and more smokers coast to coast are saying this about king-size Fatima every day. They're different. Better.
They are different. So pleasing.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality. You see, Fatima contains the finest domestic and Turkish tobaccos superbly blended. And Fatima is extra mild, with a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Compare Fatima with any other king-size cigarette.
You'll find Fatima gives you all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Yes, in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Next time, buy Fatima. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, January 10th. It was cold in Los Angeles. We were working a day watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. It was 8:25 a.m. when I got to the police academy, the doctor's office. Morning.
Morning. Can I help you?
I'm checking in for my annual physical.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's see here. Name?
Joe Friday.
Let's see. Friday, just like a day in the week?
Yeah, that's right.
Friday. Can't seem to find it. You sure you were notified?
Yeah, the teletype was posted in the office a couple of days ago. Annual physical exams. My name was right near the top of the list. Friday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, here you are. Joseph Friday.
That's it, yeah.
Well, all right, Friday, let's get your name down here.
Okay.
Your age?
34.
Where you work?
Central Homicide.
Serial number?
2288.
2288. Okay, Friday, you want to step this way?
All right.
Slip off your shoes, your coat, and shirt.
Okay. Well, they keeping you busy?
Oh, pretty busy, yeah. 4,500 men in the department. Everyone has to have an annual physical.
Mm-hmm.
Better get you weighed and send you along inside. Doc's probably ready for you by now.
Okay.
Over here. Oh, never fails. Dr. Vance's office. Who's that? Oh, yeah, just a minute. It's for you, Friday, your office.
Oh, thank you. Friday talking.
This is Ben, Joe. You about through over there?
No, not quite. I haven't seen Doc Vance yet. What's the matter?
Dead body called up by Westlake Park. Radio cars out there now.
No one else in homicide to handle it?
Not right now. They're pretty busy. Now, you should coming back to the office. Why don't you meet me out there? It's 932 Old Laurel Lane.
Just a minute. Have that pad, Doc. Thank you. 9320 Laurel. I got it. What's the story?
Old man was found dead in his living room, bullet hole in his chest.
Hmm?
Men in the radio car said at first it looked like the old man had killed himself. They're not so sure now.
What do you mean?
They think he had some help.
8:45 a.m. I left the doctor's office at the police academy and drove to the Westlake area where I met Ben in front of the cottage where the dead body had been found. We went inside and checked with one of the men from the radio car who was standing by. The dead man was identified as Martin Latimer, age 68, a retired owner of a couple of neighborhood grocery stores in the city. He was lying sprawled on his side on the floor. There was a bullet hole in his chest just above the heart where the slug had entered the body. There was another, larger wound in the back through the left shoulder blade where the bullet had emerged. Approximately 8 feet across the room from the body was another chair. There was a Winchester rifle wired firmly to the top, its muzzle pointing directly above the spot where the body lay on the floor. A thick white string was found wound firmly around the trigger of the rifle. It ran through a metal ring on the stock of the gun and stretched across the room where it had been tied to the dead man's right index finger. At first glance, it seemed like an obvious suicide arrangement. Officer Harkness, one of the men in the radio car who had answered the call, took exception.
I know, Sergeant. Maybe I'm all wet. Just doesn't gel right for me.
Who discovered the body, Harkness?
Next-door neighbor, Mrs. Donworth. My partner's with her now. You fellas call the crime lab?
Yeah, they're on their way out. Was the old man the only one who lived in the house here?
Yeah, that's what the neighbor told us. Sure like to see what the crime lab crew's going to think of it.
Well, what's the big question, Harkness?
Well, I know it's none of my business, Sergeant. You fellas are the detectives. I just couldn't help but notice, though.
What's that?
Well, here. Now, over here, This rifle wired to the back of the chair?
Yeah.
Take a sight along the barrel of the rifle. See what you think.
Right through the sight, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Pointed right above the arms you're over there, isn't it? It's in a straight line with the body. Well, how much fish? The old man pulled the string tied to his index finger and it set off the trigger. Took the slug through the chest, isn't that right?
Yeah, that's what I figured. Now, here, take a look at the wall directly behind the old man.
Yeah?
The slug went clean through the body, we know that. Through the chest above the heart, then out through the shoulder blade.
I see what you mean.
Oh, here, now, take a look at this wall here. Got a mark on it.
Yeah. One thing, sure, if the old man was shot in that position, the slug had to come this way.
Well?
Pass through his body right about this height here. We ought to find the bullet hole in this wall. Right around here.
Yeah, it ought to be. Not a trace of the slug there. Not much chance it could have been deflected, do you think?
Well, that's what I thought. It's a 30-30 Winchester, enough power to go through a couple of plaster walls.
Well, we know the slug went through the body. It's got to be somewhere in one of these four walls.
Take a look over here and see what you think.
All right.
Down here near the corner of the wall.
Where?
Well, right here.
Yeah, looks like it, Ben.
Something's out of kilter. The rifle never could have thrown the slug this far down on the wall. Not the way it's wired to the chair there.
And besides that, it's way out of line, at least 4 feet the way I figured here.
Well, I know it's none of my business, Sergeant. I couldn't help but notice it, though. You want me to stand by outside?
Yeah, okay, if you will. Would you mind checking with your partner? See if we can have that neighbor lady brought over for questioning, will you?
Right, I'll check with him now.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'm going to take another look at that rifle.
Well, it sure doesn't add up too well, does it? Even if the old man jerked the gun when he pulled the trigger with that string arrangement, the slug couldn't have passed through his chest, out his back, and then hit the wall where it did.
Well, stand just behind the body, will you, Joe? See if it's possible to line it up.
All right, what about here? Look about it to you?
Yeah. That's good. Let me see here. No, not a chance, Joe. It's way out of line. That's the gun that killed him. The old man didn't pull the trigger. Not from there, anyway.
Well, there's one other chance.
Yeah?
Somebody pulled it for him. Lieutenant Lee Jones arrived with his crime lab crew and went to work. We put in a call to the coroner's office, and then the dead man's neighbor, Mrs. Elsie Donworth, was brought over for questioning. She was a chubby, matronly lady, about 45. She told us she'd been a neighbor to the aging Martin Latimer for more than 10 years.
I take it you knew Mr. Latimer pretty well, ma'am.
Yeah, I suppose. Didn't have any relatives, poor man. All alone. He was in the grocery business for years. He made some nice money, I guess. Retired about 8 years ago, sold both his stores. Had an income from a mortgage on one of them. $150 a month. Yeah, he was very comfortable. Wasn't a penny pincher at all, but he was thrifty. It was the same way with my husband, Claude. He used to say, take care of the dimes and the dollars will take care of themselves.
Well, Mrs. Donworth, can you think of any reason why Latimer would want to take his own life?
Oh, I suppose. The poor old man is getting along in years. For a long time there, he was afraid he was going to die with cancer.
Is that so? Did Mr. Latimer have cancer, do you know?
Oh, no. He kept thinking he was going to die with it. Could you, come next door to my place while I get some of my laundry out? We could talk there. It's just across the yard.
All right, ma'am. That'll be fine. If you want to tell Lee Jones we'll be next door, Ben, guess you better let Harkness know, too.
Yeah, right. I'll tell him.
Thank you.
About that cancer business, officer, Mr. Latimer was always talking about it.
Yes, ma'am.
He finally went to a doctor about it. That was last week only. He came back and he told me the doctor said for him not to be so silly about it. He was a well man in good health.
When was the last time that you saw Latimer, ma'am?
Day before yesterday. Oh, we laughed and joked over the back fence. Poor old man. He had such a nice smile. Reminded me a good deal of Claude. That was my husband.
Well, I'd like to have your honest opinion, Miss Donworth. Do you think Mr. Latimer killed himself?
Well, I suppose that rifle in there, that terrible contraption.
Joe, I wonder if I could talk to you a minute.
Yeah, okay. Would you like to go on ahead over next door, ma'am? We'll be right with you.
All right, officer.
Thank you very much. We'll be right there, ma'am. Yeah.
Crime lab crew's having a field day. They say if the old man shot himself with that rig, it ought to make Ripley's call him.
They find anything definite?
Dusted the rifle for fingerprints. Didn't find a warrant. How about that?
Yeah. It makes less sense than that slug buried in the corner of the wall, doesn't it?
Sure does. Checked the desk in the living room, found some correspondence Latimer was having with some woman through a Lonely Hearts Club.
Yeah? Did you find any reason why he'd want to die?
Pretty good reason why he'd want to live.
Huh?
Found a photograph. Beautiful girl. Looked to be about 24 or 5.
What about it?
She was going to marry him.
The crime lab crew continued their routine investigation of Martin Latimer's cottage. They removed a .30-30 slug from the corner of one wall. Ben and I went next door to question the neighbor, Mrs. Donworth. There didn't seem to be any common ground at all between the evidence in the house and the information that she had to offer. As we continued questioning her, Mrs. Donworth remembered that a month before, Latimer had told her that something might happen to him and he wanted to make out a will. He asked if she would witness the will. A few days later, Latimer's lawyer came to the house and Mrs. Donworth witnessed the signing. At that time, she said Latimer made the remark, "I don't feel like going on much longer anyway. If death means arrest, I think I deserve one." Mrs. Donworth kept busy with the laundry while we interviewed her.
Could you let me get by to the manual officer? I have to get some of this ironing done.
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
I'm afraid there's one thing I don't remember you telling us, ma'am. Did you hear anything out of the ordinary going on next door, or this morning or last night?
No, nothing I noticed anyway. Officer, did you see that knob on the washer, the one on the left?
Oh, you mean this over here?
Yeah, just lift it up and turn it around to off, please. It says off right there in the dial.
Yes, ma'am, I see. There you are.
Yeah, thanks. No, there was nothing I heard from next door to remark about. Of course, it's so noisy around here that time of morning you can't even hear yourself think anyway.
How's that, ma'am?
Trucks passing by up and down. Every morning. They're not small trucks either. They start in at 6 a.m. They rattle past for 2-3 hours, please.
The first good explanation we've had on this thing.
Could you give us the names of some of the other people on the street who knew Mr. Latimer pretty well, Mrs. Donworth?
Yeah, I suppose. I don't think any of them knew the poor old man as well as I did. Most of them are younger folks, parties and things. When you get up around 65 or past it, like Mr. Latimer, parties don't mean so much anymore.
Yes, ma'am, I understand.
Yeah. Just a nice, quiet home with a good heating system. Good books on the shelf. Good man around the house. Is that all you can ask for?
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you very much. We'll leave our card here in case you want to contact us for any reason.
All right, officer.
There's one more thing, Mrs. Donworth. We understand Latimer was corresponding with several women through a Lonely Hearts Club. Did he ever mention that to you?
No, he never did. I found out from the mailman. He's a regular gossip.
And Latimer never mentioned any of the women that he corresponded with, is that right?
Well, I pretended I didn't even know about it. He never brought it up. Don't understand why he'd want to meet a lady that way. All most of them are looking for is a man with money so they can quit work and lay around the house.
Well, thanks again, Mrs. Donworth. It's been very helpful.
Yeah. Poor old man. I wonder what made him write letters after silly women. Little good they'd have done him. He wrote letters all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
Getting tired of working myself. Could have saved the postage, too.
Beg your pardon?
I was right next door. Would have married him in a minute.
We left Mrs. Donworth's house a few minutes past noon, and we went back next door to Latimer's cottage. The crime lab crew had finished their investigation, and the deputy coroner arrived. He took the body downtown for autopsy. We talked over the crime lab findings with Lieutenant Lee Jones, and he felt the same way that Ben and I did. The theory that Latimer had shot himself to death was possible in many respects, but it was far from plausible. We checked through Latimer's correspondence with the women that he'd contacted by mail through the Lonely Hearts Club. Especially the young girl he obviously intended to marry, judging from his letters to her. Her picture showed her to be a brunette, dark eyes, young, and very attractive. The inscription at the bottom read, "With love, Catherine." There was no return address on either the photo or the letter. Ben called to check with the Lonely Hearts Club.
Yes, ma'am. No, that's all right. We'll probably be dropping down to talk to you. Yes, boy.
What'd they say?
Might be it, Joe. Club secretary says they've been having trouble with somebody who signs a picture just like this one. With love, Catherine. I described the picture, and the secretary says it's the same girl.
What's the angle?
The girl doesn't belong to the club, but somehow she got a list of the members and their addresses. She writes to them, usually old men, gets them set for marriage, and they send for her. Her letters come from the east, from different cities. She writes and asks for train fare out here. The men send her the money for clothes and train fare, and that's the last of it. She's gone.
Oh, it adds up, all right. There's one letter here. This one. I hate to ask you, dear, but if you could send me the traveling money and just a little extra for some clothes, I will take the first train and be with you in a week to become your wife, awaiting that precious moment and so on.
Kind of poured it on thick. What's the date on this?
Let's see, December 30th. It's 12 days ago.
What do you think?
That's possible. She could have showed up, tried to grab all the old man's money she could find. Maybe he caught her at it. She killed him, rigged up this phony setup to make it look like Latimer shot himself.
Can hold more water if we could find out she really came here. Maybe we better start ringing a few doorbells. The other neighbors might come up with something. What do you say?
Well, let me see that girl's picture again, will you?
Yeah, here you go. No photographer's name.
Now, look in the back here, Ben.
Yeah?
No, down here in the corner. Right in the corner of the picture mounting.
Oh, yeah. XXX6Y3. Must be some kind of manufacturer's marking. Photography supply. Guess it stands for the type of paper, huh? You know anything about the photo business?
No, I don't.
Neither do I.
Let's find somebody who does, huh? Before we drove back to the office, Ben and I covered the rest of the neighborhood and talked to everybody who knew the dead man, Martin Latimer, even remotely. They told us nothing that we didn't already know. There'd been no strangers seen visiting the old man. No one had noticed anything out of the ordinary in Latimer's daily routine. 3 o'clock that afternoon, we checked with the police photo lab. They told us that the symbols stamped on the cardboard frame of the photograph signed Catherine were symbols used by a photo supply company up in San Francisco. We went back to the office and got in touch with the San Francisco firm. We were told that the symbols indicated the style and the size of photographic mounting, and further, that this particular type of mounting was distributed only throughout 7 western states. They gave us a list of 18 photo studios in Los Angeles who kept that particular mount in stock. It was a long chance, but we started checking them out. Meantime, we'd run the girl through R&I and gotten out an APB, seeking information on her. 3 days later, Ben and I had checked out 10 of the 18 photo studios on our list. The 11th was the M&Y Family Portraits on Melrose.
Yes, sir. Help you? Police officers, would you mind taking a look at this photograph here, please? Let's see. Would you like an enlargement? Got a special price on enlargements this week?
No, sir. We'd just like to know if you can identify this girl, that's all.
Oh.
Well, do you recognize her at all, sir?
I know her. Sure you wouldn't like an enlargement?
You're in a cruiser car of a Metropolitan Police Department. You receive a routine radio call.
All units, attention all units. Pick up and hold for investigation the following vehicle. 1948 Ford, 2-door sedan. Black, white sidewall tires.
There are many cars that fit this description. You listen for more facts.
This car will have extensive damage to right front end. License number 9 Robert 9 707. In the 7 column, 9 Robert 9 707. KMA 367.
Now you can pin it down to one. It's the same with cigarettes. There are many king-size brands to choose from. But when you know all the facts, you'll make your choice, Fatima.
Here are those facts. Fatimas are the same in length and circumference as any other king-size cigarette. 85 millimeters long, 1 1/64 inches around.
And Fatima filters the smoke exactly the same long distance.
But in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Fatima gives you extra mildness, a much different, much better flavor and aroma. Remember, Fatima gives long cigarette smokers all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Next time, insist on the best. Buy Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes.
Saturday, January 13th, 1:35 p.m. We showed the photograph of the girl to the proprietor of the photo studio on Melrose Avenue, and he identified her as one of his customers. He told us her name was Doris Chambers. She was 22 years old and a postgraduate student in chemistry at the university. She came from a fairly well-to-do family, and her father was the president of a local neighborhood bank. She didn't even come close to the type of girl that we were looking for. We got the address from the photographer, drove out to the home, and interviewed the Chambers girl. She gave a younger appearance than she did in her picture. She couldn't recognize the handwriting on the photo, nor did she understand the inscription with Love, Catherine. After questioning her, it became apparent that she knew nothing at all about 68-year-old Martin Latimer.
I wonder if you'd mind taking another look at the handwriting on the picture, miss. Is it familiar at all?
No. No, I couldn't be sure either way. Seems like I've seen it, though.
Well, when did you say you had this picture made, miss?
About a year ago at graduation. My mother had extra copies made up. She liked it. I didn't care for it much.
Could you tell us how many people have prints of this picture?
Mama had 24 copies made up. She took 12 and I took 12. She sent them to relatives, friends of ours. Kept a few.
What'd you do with yours?
Sent them to friends, girls at school, a few of my boyfriends.
Can you remember if you autographed any of them?
Yeah, some of them. The ones for my girlfriend. Others I gave out plain.
Well, can you try and think who you gave those to, miss, the unsigned pictures?
One went to Carl, I know that. And Ray, and Fred and Don, and Warren. I think that's it.
Wonder if we could have their full names and addresses, please.
Yes, all right. I don't know what I'm saving all this junk for. Old letters. Could I see that picture, please?
Yeah, here you are.
What is this same writing? I thought I'd seen it before.
Huh?
This old letter from Warren. See the writing? Doesn't it look the same to you?
Looks close, Joe.
Yeah, we'll have Don Meyer on handwriting check it over. Who is this Warren, Miss Chambers?
Warren White. Here's his address right here.
Yeah, I'll copy it, Joe.
Fine.
Warren and I went to college together. We were engaged to be married for a while, then I broke it off.
I see.
Warren's a serious boy. He was very thorough. Perfectionist. You know, Sergeant? Never does things halfway.
That's so?
Never known Warren to do anything in his life halfway, not once.
Well, he's going to have a perfect record if that handwriting matches.
What can they do to him?
I don't know, but they won't do it halfway. 2:55 p.m. We left the home of Doris Chambers and drove down Beverly Boulevard to 743 North Clairwood Avenue, an apartment house where the suspect was supposed to be living. We talked to the manager, and he told us that Warren White had moved without giving notice 3 days before, on January 10th, the same day 68-year-old Martin Latimer was found dead in his home. We got on the phone, talked to Doris Chambers again, and she gave us a lead on Warren White's married sister. 7:30 p.m., we met with the sister of the murder suspect, and she told us that her brother Warren had phoned that morning and asked for an emergency loan of $200, which she didn't have to give him. The sister gave us White's new address, and we checked it out. It was one of those run-down, futuristic-style apartment houses built in the mid-'30s. It was on a narrow road high above Sunset Boulevard overlooking most of Hollywood. White wasn't in, and the manager said he wasn't expected back till early the next morning. We had the manager let us in White's apartment. We waited. Midnight. 1 a.m. No sign of the suspect.
No denying it. It's sure a beautiful view from here.
It's the best in town. Be nice for single fellows up here, wouldn't it? Wouldn't work with a family, though.
How about you, Joe? Why don't you get your mother looking around up here? It'd be a beautiful place for the two of you.
No, I don't think Ma'd ever leave the house. She's been there for 40 years. I guess she'll stay there till she dies. Would be nice up here, though, wouldn't it? What a view, huh?
Mm-hmm. Why don't you try talking her into it? You got nothing to lose.
I might do that. Why don't you slide up one of the windows? It's getting a little stuffy in here.
Yeah. Oh, smell that air, huh? That's great.
Yeah. What time you got?
1:45. Oh, it's a long night.
We waited. 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 4:30. It was cold, and still no sign of the suspect, Warren White. 5 a.m., 5:30, 6 a.m. The sky was getting light over in the east. 6:30, 7 a.m., 7:30. We kept waiting. No sign of the suspect. We called the office and arranged for a relief. 8 a.m., we could hear groups of youngsters passing by outside, trooping into the main yard of a grammar school just below the apartment house. We kept waiting. At 8:15 a.m., we heard a car pull up in front of the apartment house. Footsteps came down the driveway, up the path, stopped outside the door. We heard a key turn in the lock.
What is this? What do you want? You Warren White? Yes. Police officers got some questions we'd like to ask you.
It's all right, officers. Why don't you sit down? I'm not going to give you any trouble.
Huh?
I killed him. Maybe I'll never know why, but I killed him.
You want to tell us about it?
He must have had a reason for it, rigging it for a suicide. Do you have anything against him?
I hardly even knew him. He used that picture of Doris to fool. Made some good money doing it. I needed it.
You willing to give us a statement about the whole thing?
I haven't anything to hide, officer. The minute I killed him, I knew it was all over. Right there in that 1 minute. I knew you'd come and find me somehow. I didn't know when, but you'd come and find me.
Well, okay, Ben. We better head downtown.
Yeah. What? It's a great sound, isn't it?
What's that?
The schoolyard.
Yeah.
The kids. Got a great sound to it. Good one.
You want to get your hat?
All right. How can anybody figure? You start in the schoolyard like those kids down there, running around, yelling. I started the same.
Better get going.
I wonder what it is that happens. An 8-year-old redhead kid. There must be one down there now. The other kids will grow up, get jobs, work, and die. It'll be all right.
Yeah.
The one kid will end up in an alley with a gun in his hand. How can anybody figure?
I don't know.
A bunch of kids playing in the schoolyard. Someday one of them's a killer.
Yeah, let's go.
You tell me. What's the answer?
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
On April 2nd, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 88, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
And now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Friends, it's come to my attention that some people have a misunderstanding about the cost of Fatimas. Well, I'd sure like to straighten that out for you right now. The cost of Fatima is the same as the cigarettes you're now smoking. Yes, that's right. Fatimas cost no more. But in Fatima, the difference is quality. Buy Fatima in the golden yellow package.
Warren Thomas White was tried and convicted of murder in the first degree. He received a sentence of life imprisonment. He is still serving his term in the state penitentiary, Folsom, California.
Ladies and gentlemen, to build our strength against aggression, we've got to equip our armed forces with weapons of war and at the same time produce plenty of civilian goods so that we can keep prices down. Remember, the better we produce, the stronger we grow.
Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima, best of all, king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Stay tuned for Counter Spy, next over NBC.
Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned a robbery detail. A gang of hijackers has set up operations in your city. Truckloads of merchandise worth thousands of dollars vanish completely. The criminals know their business. Their system appears foolproof. Your job, stop them.
Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes.
Definitely the best quality in its class, but the same price as the cigarette you're now smoking.
Now, because of its quality, more smokers coast to coast insist.
Contains the finest domestic and Turkish tobaccos superbly blended. And Fatima is extra mild, with a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
So compare Fatima yourself. Today,
you'll find Fatima gives you all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Remember, the cost of Fatima is the same as the cigarette you're now smoking.
Remember, in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Next time, by Fatima.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Saturday, November 8th. It was foggy in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of robbery detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Captain Didion. My name's Friday. I was on the way back from R&I, and it was 11:23 a.m. when I got to room 27A. Robbery detail.
Joe?
Hi.
Where you been, anyhow? I've been sitting here 20 minutes waiting for you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've been checking a couple of names through R&I. It took a little longer than I figured.
The least you could do is leave a note in the book. I do the same for you. I've been sitting here 20 minutes.
Oh, I told you I'm sorry. What's the matter? You feeling well?
No, I'm all right. It's just like a little cooperation, Joe, that's all.
What's the matter with you?
Oh, I don't know. I guess I was mad when I woke up. Got a crazy house.
Well, what's the trouble? Did you have an argument with your wife?
In-laws are visiting again. 6 of them.
Oh, where are they sleeping?
All over the place. 4 adults, 2 kids, and a gray fox terrier. He's not even housebroken.
Well, how long are you going to stay? A couple of days?
2 weeks. I don't know how I can last it out, Joe. They're crawling all over the place. Kids screaming, dog tearing up the front room, no privacy. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Well, why don't you just level with them? Ask them if they wouldn't mind staying at a motel for a couple of days.
I suggested that to the wife this morning.
What'd she think?
That's when the argument started. Oh. Hey, I almost forgot to tell you that truck driver finally showed up, that Frank Burris.
Oh, yeah, it's about time. Where is he?
Took him across the hall to the mug room. Got him checking out some coming-out mug books. Guess we better see how he's doing.
All right. He sure took his time getting here, didn't he?
Yeah, didn't offer any excuses. He's no more help than he was yesterday.
Yeah.
Surly. Not very cooperating. How you doing, Mr. Burris? You remember my partner, Sergeant Friday.
How are you, Burris?
I got a headache. This is just a waste of time wading through all these pictures. I've been through 2 of these books already. I couldn't identify any of the guys.
Yeah, well, we know it's pretty tedious. We'd just like to have you check through a few more volumes, if you wouldn't mind.
Look, I don't mind giving you a hand when I got time, but I got things to do today. I got something on for tonight. Have to get a haircut, my suit pressed.
Well, this thing's pretty important to us, Burroughs. I know we're putting you out, but we need every lead we can get. We'd certainly appreciate it if you could just give us a little more cooperation.
I don't know what else I can do. I told you everything I know, just the way it happened.
A few more things we'd like to ask you about, sir. Some of the details you didn't make quite clear.
What details? How do you mean?
Details about the hijacking. Mind going over it again for us?
I laid it out for you the last time you talked to me, just the way it went. It's the same as the rest.
Well, how do you mean the same as the rest?
Well, the other hijackings are the same as those, no different.
You pretty familiar with the other jobs, are you?
Oh, followed them in the paper, read the bulletin the cops got out on them. It's up on the dispatch board in the garage. Is that fresh water in that cooler over there?
Yeah, I think so. Help yourself.
Thanks. Gotta have a couple of aspirin for this headache. Can't take aspirin without water.
Yeah. You've been driving a couple of years for Lavelle Trucking Line. Is that right, Burroughs?
That's right, yeah.
What if you'd mind running it through for us again, Burroughs? Maybe there's a few details about the thing that you forgot to mention, huh?
Well, it won't be any different than last time. I pulled out from the loading dock about 6 o'clock yesterday morning, hauling a load of Scotch whiskey over to Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Pulled up for the red light at Alameda and Jackson. That's when the guy pulled open the door and got in next to me. Put a gun in my ribs, told me to look straight ahead. First thing he did was hand me that pair of goggles and tell me to put them on. Same kind the welders use. Front of the lens was covered with tape. I put them on. I couldn't see a thing. Guy took over the wheel and started driving.
Well, did you have any idea what direction you were heading in?
No, not with the goggles on. I tried to follow at first, but I got all mixed up. Couldn't tell where he was driving. Made quite a few turns. He drove about 20, 25 minutes, I guess, before we pulled up.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the switching point was. 2 more guys met us there. I could only tell by the voices. They pulled me out of the truck and put me in a car.
Well, can you tell us anything at all about that transfer point? I mean, were there any sounds, anything like that that would give you an idea that maybe where you were?
Well, I figure it must have been someplace out in the valley, pretty far out. No traffic sounds at all, just crickets, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
They got me in that car, drove around about an hour, I figure. Then they put me on the side of the road, told me to leave the goggles on for 10 minutes, and then they drove off.
Well, how about those 2 men at the transfer point? If you heard their voices again, you think you could recognize them?
I don't know. I doubt it. They didn't say too much. Not that I heard, anyway.
I'm just curious, Burris. How is it you thought of calling your company first instead of the police?
Well, it's their cargo, a whole load of whiskey. If somebody hijacked it, I figure the company ought to be the first to know.
I'd like to ask you just one more question. There's no offense intended here.
Yeah?
You ever been arrested?
Well, why? What'd that have to do with it?
Well, probably nothing at all. Have you ever been arrested?
I'd like to set you straight on it right now. If you think I was working inside on this thing, you got it wrong. I didn't have anything to do with it.
Then there's nothing to worry about, is there?
All right. Yeah, I've been arrested.
When was that, Burroughs?
About 10 years ago. It was back east, West Virginia.
What was the charge?
Hijacking.
Our record showed no previous arrest for Frank Burroughs. For the next few days, he was kept under observation. When we got the kickback from Washington, it showed Burroughs had one previous arrest, the one he told us about, for hijacking. We checked all his friends, relatives, and associates. We found nothing suspicious. His employer said that they were aware of his police record, but they told us that Burroughs was one of the best drivers they had. There was nothing to link him with a series of hijackings which had been going on all over the city for the past month. Our crime lab checked the pair of goggles which Burroughs had been forced to wear during the hijacking. They were an ordinary industrial type, easily obtained and impossible to trace. Other than those belonging to Burroughs, there were no fingerprints on them. Late that afternoon, the missing truck and trailer was found empty in a deserted section of the valley. No latent fingerprints or other physical evidence. 9 a.m. the next morning, we met with Captain Didion.
Cargo's gone, huh? Not a trace of it.
That's it, Skipper. High-grade Scotch whiskey, 150 cases. Got out of Bolton all the liquor wholesalers. And serial numbers listed.
That ex-con Burroughs, nothing turned up on him?
No, nothing. We double-checked everything about him. He's clean.
You didn't get a thing off that abandoned truck?
No prints, no physical evidence. Seems like they got it down to a science.
Tell that to Thad Brown. He's getting all the kicks from the warehouse operators. 30 days and 6 hijackings. How about moving faster?
Well, as you know, we got 12 stakeouts running down freight loads, Skipper.
Yeah.
Incoming, outgoing. Got 3 girls in the stats office doing nothing but making runs for us. No new suspect.
We got a meeting with an informant after lunch. He figures he may have something. There's nothing to bank on.
How about an inside tip-off on these jobs? Any indication the gang's working something like that?
No, nothing definite, Skipper. Jobs seem to be pretty well cased, though. We've checked out everybody with a record working for the trucking lines. No reason to think any of them had a hand in it.
Excuse me a minute. Didion. Yeah. Live Oak near Trenton Avenue. Yeah, I got it right. Thank you. We got another truck early this morning.
Where?
There's the location. Better move on it. Looks like they got their signals crossed.
How do you mean?
Doesn't make sense. Cargo they hijacked.
What was it?
A load of toothbrushes.
9:23 a.m. Ben and I drove to the intersection of Live Oak Drive and Trenton Avenue in the Hollywood Hills, where we located the latest driver to fall victim to the gang of hijackers. His story was the same as the others. He'd stopped his truck for a red light at a deserted intersection when a man jumped on the running board and pointed a gun at his head. The man with the gun took over the wheel and forced the driver to put on a pair of blacked-out welder's goggles. Then the truck was moved to a remote spot where the driver was transferred to a car and later released in a remote section of the Hollywood Hills. The hijacked truck was found empty a day later. And again, there was no physical evidence, no fingerprints. The driver could add little to what we already knew. The only point that made the case any different from those that had gone before was the cargo that had been stolen, a load of toothbrushes. We began an immediate check of the neighborhood where, according to the driver, he was first held up. It was a fairly remote intersection in the San Fernando Valley. After 4 hours of interviewing ranchers and gas station attendants, we talked to the operator of a practice driving range for golfers located just off the highway. His name was Fred Garrison.
Matter of fact, I did notice something out of the ordinary this morning. A little before 6 a.m., I think. Spotted this big semi turning off on that dirt road down the highway there.
Which dirt road is that, Mr. Garrett?
Oh, right up the highway there. See it?
Oh,
It turns off by that clump of trees.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't figure out why a big truck and trailer be taking that road. Doesn't make sense.
How do you mean, sir?
Well, it's a dead end. No reason why a driver turn off there by mistake. There's a big sign right there at the intersection. Says not a through street. Right there. See it? Plain as day.
I wonder if you could describe the truck for us, Mr. Garrison.
Well, it's pretty good size. One of those big aluminum jobs. Black lettering on the side, I think. Yeah, it turned off the highway, went down the dirt road a little ways, and then it turned off into that grove of trees, and the driver cut the lights.
Mm-hmm. Did you notice any activity going on at all?
No, I didn't. Oh, maybe I should have walked over and checked it. I figured it was just some truck driver pulling up to catch a few winks of sleep.
I see.
My boy Dave was with me at the time. Wanted to check it, but I told him to mind his own business. He says a couple of minutes after the truck pulled in, he saw a gray sedan come down the road and park next to the truck right in that same clump of trees.
Well, now, didn't all this look a little suspicious to you, sir?
Oh, I suppose so, in a way. I just don't like to meddle where it's not my business, that's all.
Well, did your boy Dave get a good look at this gray sedan? Do you know that?
You want to come in the office and sit down?
Sure.
Oh, thanks.
Hey, sit right there if you like.
Fine, thank you.
Let's see now. Where were we?
About your boy Dave?
Oh, yeah.
You said that he saw a gray sedan pull in next to the truck over in that clump of trees. Did he mention anything else that he noticed about the car? I mean, other than the fact that it was a gray sedan.
Well, yeah, I think he did say something else about it. Now, let's see. Wasn't listening too close at the time. Dave's doing some errands downtown for me right now. He'll be phoning in pretty soon, though. I can ask him about it then. He paid a lot more attention to the thing than I did.
Well, how long were the truck and trailer and that sedan parked in the grove of trees? Do you remember that?
Yeah, well, not too long. Maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The car pulled out first and took off down the highway away from town. That way, see?
Mm-hmm.
And the truck and trailer left a few minutes after. What do you figure they were up to?
We've got an idea. What time was that again, sir, when you saw the truck turn off the highway onto the dirt road?
About 6 a.m. Maybe a few minutes one way or the other.
I wonder if you'd show us the exact spot where you saw that truck park, would you?
Oh, sure. Here. You want to come over here with me to the window?
All right.
Now, you see the clump of trees there?
Yeah.
Eucalyptus.
Mm-hmm.
They border right on the road?
Yeah.
Maybe that's him now.
All right.
Garrison Fairways. Oh, yeah, Dave. How'd you make out? Oh, fine. No. Listen, a couple policemen here now. They're asking about that truck and that gray sedan you saw up on the road this morning. Want to know what you noticed about the sedan besides the color. How's that? Oh, you did, Yeah? Well, you better head back here. They probably want to talk to you about it. All right, Davey. Bye.
What do you have to say?
Oh, he'll be back in about 20 minutes. I figured you want to talk to him.
Well, how about the sedan, sir? Did you get a pretty good look at it, did he say?
Yeah, I guess so. He got part of the license number.
Fred Garrison's son, Dave, returned and gave us all the pertinent facts about the truck and the gray sedan which he'd noticed in the neighborhood early that morning. His description of the truck and trailer, what he saw of it anyway, matched closely with that of the latest vehicle to be hijacked. He described the car as a gray sedan, and he said it looked to him like it was a late model Nash, but he couldn't be sure. He said the first 3 units on the license plate were 7T7. The location in the grove of trees where the truck had been spotted was checked thoroughly. Outside of some indefinite tire tracks, there was no physical evidence. 4:10 p.m., we put in a call to DMV and asked for a rundown on the 3 license plate numbers. The next morning, DMV returned to us a list of more than 1,000 auto registrations, which began with the figure 7T7. We went down the list and gradually eliminated 600 of these as not being physically close in description to the car seen by Garrison's boy, Dave. We kept checking. Almost 300 more on the list were registered in distant parts of the state. That left us with over 100 vehicles registered in or around Los Angeles to check out. It went slow. 3 weeks passed. We narrowed the list down to 23 possibles. Tuesday, December 10th. We were checking registrations with addresses in the east end of the city.
What's the name on this one again?
Perry. Walter R. Perry.
Garage is straight back to drive. There's a car parked in it.
Yeah. Let's try the bell again, huh?
What do you say?
All right, let's give the car a look.
People sure do get careless. Nobody home, garage wide open, car sitting there.
Qualifies so far.
You want to check the steering post there, registration thing?
I get it, yeah.
Check out all right?
Just a minute.
What do you got there?
Here. Found these under the seat.
Oh, maybe we're home.
Yeah, it's a pair of goggles. Take a look.
Yeah.
Both lenses covered with tape.
You're in the forgery division of the Metropolitan Police Department. Handwriting analysis.
Now, let's check it against the forged letter. The capitals print evenly. The O's and the A's are clean. No, this isn't the typewriter we're looking for. Yeah. Capitals print high. A's and O's are solid. P's slanted. This is the one.
It's the same with cigarettes. There are many king-size brands to choose from, but when you know all the facts, you'll make your choice Fatima.
Here are those facts. Fatimas are the same in length and circumference. 85 millimeters long, 1 1/64 inches around.
And Fatima filters the smoke exactly the same long distance as any other king-size cigarette.
But in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Remember, Fatima gives you extra mildness, a much different, much better flavor and aroma. You get all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes. Definitely the best quality in its class, but the same price as the cigarette you are now smoking. Next time, buy Fatima.
Tuesday, December 10th, 2:15 p.m. The pair of goggles found in the automobile registered to Walter R. Perry were the same brand and style as the goggles used to black out the truck drivers in all the previous hijackings. Ben and I searched the car, but we failed to come up with any additional physical evidence. We left the garage, checked the house again to make sure that there was nobody at home. Then we went down the street close to the house to where we parked our car. We put in a call to R&I and requested a make on Walter R. Perry. He had no previous criminal record. A few minutes later, we spotted two women loaded with grocery bags come down the street, go up the stairs of the Perry house, and let themselves in with a key. We went up to the front door, rang the bell, and the younger of the two women answered. Dark brown hair, blue eyes, about 5'6", 28, 29 years old. We identified ourselves, and she showed us into the living room. She told us her name was Leona Perry, and that Walter Perry was her husband. They'd been married 11 years, no children. We asked her where her husband was, and she said he was out of town on a business trip up north to Monte Vista, California. We asked her what line of business he was in.
Well, right now, Walter's a jewelry salesman. He works for himself. Has to do quite a bit of traveling.
Your husband's blonde, about 5'9", 160 pounds, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
How'd he go up north, ma'am, do you know?
Well, I think he went up by train. I'm not sure.
You have any idea how we might contact your husband up north?
No, I'm afraid I don't. He said he had a couple of business appointments in different towns in that area up there. He didn't tell me where he'd be staying. What's it about, Sergeant?
Just a routine check, Miss Perry. Is that a photograph of your husband over there on the piano?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. When's he expected back, you know?
Well, let's see. This is Tuesday. He should be home sometime Thursday.
I see. A minute ago, you said right now your husband's a jewelry salesman. Is that his usual line of work?
No, Walter's a truck driver.
You work here in Los Angeles?
No, he drove for a company up north in the Bay Area, Oakland, Berkeley. He had that job for 10 years, almost from the day we were married.
Mm-hmm.
And then last December, he had a fight with the boss and quit. We moved down here to find work, but he just couldn't seem to get placed.
How long has he been selling jewelry, ma'am?
Oh, about 8 months, I'd say. He's doing very good at it. We have more now than when he was driving a truck. A lot of money in the jewelry business.
Well, it's just you and your husband living here, is that right?
No, my mother lives with us, too. We just got back from doing the shopping. I guess she's busy putting the groceries away.
I see.
Mom? Ma?
Oh, say that's all right, ma'am. I think you can give us the information we need.
Well, I'd like to know what this is about. I'd appreciate it if you'd tell me. Walter isn't in any kind of trouble, is he?
Just a routine investigation, Miss Perry. Doesn't necessarily mean your husband's involved.
I can tell you right now, my husband isn't involved in anything. Walter's never had trouble with the police in his life.
Walter has trouble with the police? What is it, Leona?
It's nothing, Ma. These policemen want to talk to Walter. They just want to ask him a few questions, that's all. This is my mother, Mrs. Burt. Ma, this is Mr. Friday and Mr. Romero.
I told you, Leona. I felt it all day. Something's wrong. Walter's done something, hasn't he?
Now, don't start on that again, Ma, please. The officers told me they want to talk to Walter, that's all.
What for? If he hasn't done anything, why do they want to talk to him?
Routine duty, ma'am. There's nothing to get excited about.
I knew it would happen. I felt it all the time. That funny job he has, selling jewelry, going out at all hours. Couldn't fool me. I knew it wasn't right. What's he done? We're his relatives. We got a right to know.
Well, there's nothing we can tell you definitely, ma'am. How about these odd working hours your husband has, Miss Perry? What's the reason for that? Could you tell us?
Well, I don't know. Walter works for himself. He just has to make business contacts when he can, that's all. Sometimes it's late at night, sometimes early in the morning. Why don't you stay out of it, Ma? After all, it's our business. Walter's and mine.
You just mark my word, Leona. Find out about this. That husband of yours has done something, and these policemen are after him. I knew it wasn't right. I felt it all along.
No, please stay out.
His jewelry business, his big money. I should have left and taken you with me the day it started. Walter's a truck driver. It's all he'll ever be. It's where he should have stayed.
Why are you always picking on Walter?
Why? Because I told you in the first place you never should have married him. 11 years ago, I told you. I never should have come to stay with you. You couldn't go and marry one of those nice boys you met at school. It had to be Walter Perry. Well, maybe you'll see now. Trouble with the police. Now you'll see what kind of a man you married.
Shut up, Ma. Sorry, officer.
Well, I'm afraid that isn't helping much, Miss Burt.
I suppose not. What is it that can help? You have kids, you try to tell them something, make it easy for them, they never listen.
Now, that gray sedan back in the garage, ma'am, does anyone else drive it besides Mr. Perry, do you know?
No, Leona doesn't drive. Walter's the only one who runs it.
He drives it to all these business appointments he has at odd hours?
That's right. Only times he doesn't take it's when he's out of town.
You ever seen this pair of goggles before, ma'am?
No, I never have. What does it mean, that tape all over the front of them?
Well, how about your son-in-law's friends? Do you ever bring any of them here to the house?
Not since I've been staying here the last 6 months. A lot of different men call him on the phone, and he goes out. Doesn't bring anyone around, though. Oh, I'm just sick.
Well, can you tell us anything about this jewelry business Mr. Perry's working in?
I don't even want to think about it. I raised 4 daughters, nice girls, every one of them attractive. You make plans for them, and you want them to be happy and marry some nice fellow, have a nice, comfortable home. You try to tell them, and they never listen.
About the car, ma'am.
They get to be 17, and they know everything. My girls could have married wealthy if they were smart. A lot of other girls have done it. They had nice clothes, they got through business school, good home training, all this talk about love. They're all so smart. They know everything, and they know nothing. is what happens. We wake up and find out.
Would you finish putting the groceries away, Ma? I've talked to the officers.
Anything you want, Leona. Didn't mean to upset you. Maybe things will be all right.
Just a few more questions, Miss Perry, that's all.
Well, whatever it is, I know Walter hasn't done anything wrong. He wouldn't do anything wrong. It doesn't make sense. There's just no reason for it.
I remember your father, Leona. 16 years we were married. One night he packed up and left me. There wasn't any reason for that either.
Wasn't there, Ma?
We continued questioning the wife and the mother-in-law of the suspect, Walter Perry. From the wife, we got the names and addresses of 4 close friends of Perry's who were supposed to be associates of his in the jewelry business. In the basement and in a loft over the garage, we found more than a dozen cases of high-grade Scotch whiskey, cases of expensive furs, and other loot taken in the hijackings. Mrs. Perry said her husband told her he was storing the stuff for some friends. It was only a small portion of the take. We called the office and got out a broadcast and an APB on the suspect and arranged for an immediate stakeout on the Perry house. And then, together with Matthews and Gonzalez from robbery detail, we began checking out the 4 close friends of the suspect. We could locate only 2 of them, but those 2 paid off. In the basements and garages of their homes, we found another portion of the loot, along with evidence that showed that both men had taken active parts in the hijackings. They were booked at the main jail on suspicion of 211 PC. A full week went by. The stakeout continued on the Perry house. Still no sign of him. Saturday, December 20th, 4:45 p.m. We checked back in at the office.
This thing's sure dragging out, huh?
Yeah, it'd be nice to wrap it up before Christmas, wouldn't it? Get it out of the way. Might work into a couple of days off.
No, I don't know if I'm too interested, Joe.
What?
The days off, I mean. We got visitors on the way again.
What do you mean, for the holidays? Who's coming?
Same old bunch. My brother-in-law and his wife and his kids and that little dog of theirs.
Well, they were just with you for 3 weeks, weren't they? What's the deal?
Oh, brother-in-law got home, found a notice from his company. He's been transferred out here.
Oh.
They're going to stay with us all through the holidays, and then they'll start house hunting. How about that?
You've got a problem.
It's got a new rug in the living room. How about 20 to 1 on it, Joe?
What's that?
That little fox terrier. Oh, hi, Skipper. Anything before we check out?
Piece of news for you. Just talked to the Ventura Sheriff's Office. We owe them a favor.
What do you mean?
They grabbed Walter Perry half an hour ago.
Monday, December 22nd. Suspect Walter Perry was returned to Los Angeles. He was taken to the interrogation room where Captain Didion, Ben, and I questioned him for almost 2 hours. He was confronted with the evidence and testimony against him, and after another hour and a half of interrogation, he broke. He gave us a full signed statement describing his part in the campaign of hijackings. He also gave us the names of everyone in the gang, how they participated, and to what extent. He said most of the property looted from the hijacked trucks was stored in a rented barn located at the north end of the San Fernando Valley. A detail of men checked it and confirmed the information. The suspect's wife, Leona, was notified of her husband's arrest. 1:35 p.m. We completed our interrogation.
That's it, Perry. Let's go.
You asked me a lot of questions. How about it? Can I ask you one?
What's that?
Well, why do you think I did it? Why I got mixed up in this?
Well, according to your statement, you wanted the money, admit it.
Well, you've been out to my house, haven't you? You met my wife?
Yeah, that's right.
I guess you met her mother, too.
Yeah.
Well, then you got it. Nobody in the world could make me go for a hijack deal, but she could. I even remember the morning I'd made up my mind to do it. I was out in the kitchen. I could hear yapping at Leona in the other room, same old roasting.
Mm-hmm.
The lousy truck driver, that was me. 11 years the wife and I've been married. Her mother lived with us, 9 of them. Didn't get any better, didn't get any worse, just the same old yapping. Her and her 4 girls. Why couldn't they listen to her? They were the best girls in the world. Why couldn't they marry money? Why did it have to be guys like truck drivers, stupid truck drivers? Same thing every day, always the same. 9 years of it. So I went out to get enough money to rub in her face, enough to make her choke on me. You can hate somebody for that. I don't know how many years they'll give me, but I'm going to hate her, every one. Matt?
Oh, hi, Olson.
Well, remain jail. This one ready to go?
Only be a minute, Rex.
Right.
Thank you. All right, Perry.
Yeah. Sergeant, my wife's been told, huh? She knows about it?
She's waiting outside in the hall with her mother. You can see him on the way out.
Oh, thanks.
Walter.
Hi, honey. I'm sorry.
Walter, why did you do it?
Ask him whether there, honey. You heard as much of it as I did. 9 years worth. I guess it finally got me sick. She wanted you to have money, so I went out to get it. You come and see me when you can?
Leona isn't going to any jail to see you. I knew it all along. I knew what you were. It's the truth. She never should have married you.
All right, Perry.
Let's go, mister.
Walter. Walter.
Why?
How you figuring?
I don't know. How about some coffee?
Okay. Sure is funny. You see other people sweating it out, your troubles look like nothing. I'm just thinking about it.
What's that?
Those in-laws of mine.
What about them?
Guess I haven't got it half bad.
story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
On March 5th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 87, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
And now, here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Friends, from our many talks with law enforcement agencies and letters from police officers, we're especially gratified to know that a great number of these men agree with us, that Fatima is the best of all long cigarettes. Now, our latest sales figures back that up. Every week, more and more smokers are enjoying king-size Fatimas, people from every state, from all walks of life. If you haven't tried Fatimas yet, buy a pack tomorrow. In Fatima, the difference is quality. The quality is better, but the cost of Fatima is the same as the cigarettes you're now smoking. Next time, buy king-size Fatima.
Walter Richard Perry was tried and convicted on several counts of robbery in the first degree. He was sentenced to the state penitentiary for the term prescribed by law. First-degree robbery is punishable by a term of 5 years to life. His accomplices received similar sentences.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we know, thousands of people in Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Illinois have been driven from their homes by floodwaters. Many are being sheltered and fed by the Red Cross. All Americans are urged to give through their local Red Cross chapters. Your contribution of just $1 will give you a feeling of justifiable pride.
Just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima, best of all king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Stay tuned for Counter Spy, next on NBC.